Hello, good morning, everyone, or good evening, afternoon, wherever you're watching from. It's Darren here from Watercolour Mentor. This might be your first time watching along, or you might have come along in the last couple of weeks. So welcome and thanks for joining. Um, if you're watching along either on YouTube or on Facebook, make sure you leave a chat. Let me know where you're watching from and whether you've done one of these sessions before. I'll be posting up a link to the reference for these couple of scenes in just a moment. So if you're wondering where the reference photos are, they're just going to be in the chats in the comment section. So have a look there if you're not sure. And if you have any questions today, just feel free to ask me at any time if you need help. I'm pretty used now to having a look at the chats and seeing what questions you guys have while I'm painting. So I can tend to do both at the same time these days, but it never used to be that way. So appreciate you all being here. And today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be painting a couple of scenes. We're going to be painting a scene of Venice, and this is just going to be in pure watercolors. We're going to try to do this one quite quickly. I've got an example here of one that I painted the other day. I think I did this in about an hour or so. Um, so that's similar to what we're going to do today, except the shadow patterns, we're going to try to make them a little bit different. In the reference photo, you can see the shadows come almost directly down the page. And over on the right hand side, we've got a little bit of light as well. There's no figures, but we're going to put them in. Another thing that I want to do is also enlarge some of these background buildings just a little bit. So this here is just in the background, 𝗪𝗘𝗙𝗦𝗦𝗘𝗦. And I think just getting a quick impression of it in will be good. I always like to enlarge it a little bit as well, just so that it looks slightly more imposing rather than it being a tiny little blip in the background. So these are the things that you can do and you can change around when you're painting. I think with the composition, it's important to look around and find things that you want to emphasize, and I guess to tell the story that you want to individually tell. So I hope you guys have all your gear along with you. In terms of materials, I would say just make sure that you get the best you can afford in terms of materials. So whether that be a little sketchbook down the road from nearby shop, or or if you can get yourself some 100% cotton watercolor paper, which is the best option, just use the best you can afford. And I've got a whole bunch of paints and things like that, but really you just need really three primary artist grade watercolor paints, bunch of synthetic brushes, some watercolor paper, and a pencil and eraser. Also for the later painting on Annecy, we're going to do a pen and ink sketch. So, but I thought this would be a good little warm up, and I'm gonna try to keep this one to about an hour. What I'd really like to hear from you guys as well is essentially, are you with the duration of these workshops, are they a decent length for you? Are they too long? Would you like a break in between? I'm thinking today what we'll do is take a little bit of a longer break in between, just so that you guys can have a breather, maybe get yourself something to drink, something to eat, and then come back. And same for myself as well. So any kind of feedback would be nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and have a look at the comments and see what you guys up to. Francis, how you doing, Francis? Nice to see you. We've got Sandy Russell again. Good to see you, Sandy. And it's been great also to see some of the work that you've been posting up. I know you're new to watching as well, so thanks for coming along again. Ellen Whitney from Maui, Hawaii. Awesome. I love to visit Hawaii sometime. Loretta Sampson watching from Oregon. And we've got Angie McCormick from North Carolina, US. Third one I've tried, 7:30 p.m. here on Friday. So glad it's an hour early. And yeah, Angie, I'm going to try to jump into this one a little bit faster in terms of the drawing and painting. And Guys, with this first one, we're going to be a little bit loose. It's just to get you all sort of warmed up and painting. So don't worry too much about accuracy. We're just going to focus essentially on the main buildings, main components. We're going to go in and I'm going to show you how to draw some figures as well. So let's just have a bit of fun with this one. We've also got Cindy, Cindy Claassen from Alberta, first time. Welcome, Cindy, and great to have you here. Elena Radu from Ontario. How you doing, Elena? We've got Tanya Wick. How you going? I had a chat to Tanya just the other day. Good to see you again. And not sure if you got your girlfriends watching along again, but thank you all for joining. And Sandy, I think a little break is great in between. Fantastic. So I'll probably do that. I will do that today just to give you guys a bit of a breather. I know it's you know, having 3 hour sessions is a bit long, so I'll try my best to keep it down. The only thing is I don't want to rush it, because if I rush it, then as well, it might be difficult for you to follow along. So we'll see how we go. Maria Abdullah from Malaysia. How you going, Maria? Great to have you. Meredith McGowan. I'm just getting set up in Australia. Fantastic. Good to see a few more Aussies in lately. Kate. Good to see you, Kate. Arbery, Bronwyn, how you going, Bronwyn? Bronwyn Skinner, Rupa Mehta, good to see you again, Rupa. Verity, we've got Verity from Thurl, New South Wales. Again, good to see you, Verity. Sorry, Wendy. Judy Jarks. My third one, a break would be good. Okay, excellent. We've got Lucia from Romania and Shelley from Sydney. And on YouTube, we've got Adam watching along. We've got Philip again, Philip Stroll. Good to see you, Philip, from Tennessee, US. One of my long-term fans. We've got Lynn Fisher from Lemon Tree Passage, New South Wales. Good to see you, Lynn. We've got Yvonne Ulma again from Michigan. Great to see you, Yvonne. Always regular here. And V. Great to see you again, V. And you've got the length. The length of time is okay with me. A short break to clean up and take down a new paper would be nice. Okay, fantastic. And Philip saying, not too long, grateful for the lives. I follow through 10 hours if needs. Awesome, Philip. I'll keep that in mind when I do my next 10-hour one. Susan, Big Island, Hawaii. We've got Nicholas Fraser. Am I the only one having trouble getting to the reference photo to work? It should be in that link up above. So it's pinned to the top of that discussions in that Facebook post. If you're still having issues, let me know. But I do have a little photo of it in the top right hand corner. Okay. So guys, we're gonna go get started, and just a little safety reminder as well. We had a few sort of spammy posts coming up before, just in the events page. Usually I end up blocking these accounts, but I've forgotten to do that before. Just remember not to click on any links unless they're from myself. Because it's all available here. Everything I do is all available here straight on YouTube and Facebook. It's not going to be on another platform, so don't click on anything like that. So just a really quick safety reminder, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm just thinking if I've forgotten to mention anything. If I've forgotten, then I'll remember to bring it up. Sometimes I talk too long as well, sort of with the intros. But yeah, if you guys could do me a favor as well, if you're watching along now, if you could like the video and just like try to share it around. You can share it around on some groups or just on your page, on your log on. It's not your login, your profile page or a group or something like that. That'll be fantastic. Just helps get a few more people on board and sort of interacting. And feel free to just chat with amongst yourselves in the chats as well, and have a bit of fun. Just make some friends. I know some of us are in lockdown, and it's good to see, especially in Melbourne and in the States, we've got a few people who've actually made contact and now sort of paint together. So it's really nice to hear that sort of thing going along, kind of helping and supporting each other to get through some of these times. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Now, I've got the reference picture up on the screen. That's the way I recommend. If you've got it up, so at the side, some of you might have printed it out. So notice with this scene, we've got a lot of foreground here, the horizon line where the building. So if we look at where the sky meets the kind of land out in the back, it's about halfway through in the reference photo. Now, something I want to do here is lower it just slightly, because I find by putting the horizon line right in the middle, it tends to look a bit too obvious. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to draw the horizon line slightly below the middle point. So right about here. Okay, right about here. And look at that, just really, really loose sort of style. Probably the most difficult things to draw in here are, these arches, these lamps, and then we've got these buildings in the background, which is 𝗪𝗔𝗦𝗦𝗘𝗦. I think that's a monastery. It was a monastery back in the day. I've gone with Venice again for this sort of loose scene. It's always something I never get tired of, and it's a great way to learn how to paint more difficult sort of buildings and get some figures in there as well. If anyone's traveled over to Italy and Venice, let me know, and you can post some of your photos there. That would be awesome. I did take a few over there, but they're somewhere on my computer. So what we're going to do, well, first you want to look at this big we look at it just as a shape, these arches. Now the middle of the painting is sort of around here, and we know the arches kind of finish off a little bit to the left of that. So that's about the main frame of reference I want you guys to focus on. So we know that it starts roughly around the horizon line here, this arch that comes out, that touches the sky, so around about here, and it's a little bit to the left of the center. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's about how I'm going to reference it. And we're going to go up like that, and just keeping this pretty sort of light like that. That's going to be one of the arches that sticks out there. And then we've got oops, kind of goes up a little bit further like that, and then we've got it kind of coming up like this, okay, touching the sky, sort of getting out of the whole painting. And we're going to draw a line coming across like this, and if we look at the reference, what we can see is actually this top part comes off kind of down like this. So kind of like a bit of a curve. It starts off in the top left hand corner of the screen, comes down like that. There we go. Just a bit of line work there. And with the pencil, it's a bit different with line and wash and watercolors, because you can get away with a few more scratchier marks in here. Okay, now we've got poles, these little poles that go up into the sky like that. So we're going to go ahead and get some of these in. So that's one, that's two. There's almost four of them that you can see. And what you want to do is space them, let's say, almost evenly apart like this. There we go. We've got another one coming up here, another one coming up here. We might even be able to get another one in the back, somewhere around here. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw a bit of this line here, kind of bisecting the poles almost in half, joining in between. And this forms the railing like that. Okay. Now, all of this is going to be done in pretty much one color. So don't worry all too much about getting the details of all of this stuff on. The main thing is the pillars got to be more or less spaced out of, evenly apart. And then we've got, sections here. It's really quite complicated. There's this arch here. There's two arches if we look at it. Two arches. There's one. So we'll draw just the bottom part here quickly. Okay. Kind of like that. The top part of the arch. And then we can get that arch that comes straight up like that, reference to where the arch starts and begins. If we look at this pole here, that first arch starts right under there. The tip of the arch starts right underneath that pole here. So we can use that as a reference to put in this one. And remember, that arch kind of comes out of the photograph. Now you don't have to do it exactly like this as well, guys. If you want to change it up a bit and do your own thing, go ahead, because I always tend to change up reference pictures slightly anyhow. But there's two here. Look at that. That's another one. And we've got the side of that pole. And here we go. This section here coming down. Have a look. So let me get this pole in first. We're just going to get in a very simple pole, just running down into the ground like that. Finishes around about here, just underneath the horizon line, just underneath. Another one here. This one comes down the horizon line, around about here. It's a little bit thicker than that one as well, and it kind of comes out like that. So it sticks out. It sticks out like that. And then we've got sort of these background arches. So something like that there, and then we've got another bit coming out like sort of here, and again another pole touching the ground behind. Okay, so we've got a couple of interesting little arches and shapes interacting, overlapping with each other. And then we've got sort of a lighter one here in the front. But all this area is going to be pretty dark here in the background. And then over here, we've got a couple others. So there's one here, right down. And look how quick I'm drawing as well. Don't worry too much about being perfect or anything like that. We're just going to more just an exercise in judging distance and drawing, shapes, objects. And this here is another pole, an arch, comes out like that. It kind of starts with a bit of a square section there, and then it comes down to these columns that just hit the ground like this. Okay, very, very basic. And then we've got a bit here, which is basically just the side of the building, disappears off like that. Okay. So there we have it. Very simple sort of side. This is the Doge's palace, by the way. Apparently the Doge back in the day was, he wasn't a king. He wasn't a king. I remember watching some kind of documentary, and it wasn't a king, but it was the, I don't know, some kind of royal figure, I guess. He was leading over Venice. So there we go. That's it. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to just have a quick look at the chats first. Tammy's got a question. What size micron pen are you using? So I'll be doing the sketch of Annecy later, and I'll be using a 0.5 and a 0.7 ink pen. So yeah, with the microns you can use those as well. 0.5 to 0.7. I tend to just use a 0.7 these days actually. So but I do use these Uniball micro pens, which are they're a bit different from pigment liners because they just have liquid ink and a ballpoint nib, whereas with the microns they have more of a felt tip, which is probably a bit more forgiving for beginners. So the lines that they create are less harsh. So if you're wondering which ones to get, but really it's not a huge deal. Try both. Now what I want to do is let's get in this so there's kind of a lamp here. Now I want to get in the stuff in the front first, and well, I'm even tempted to maybe get in a second one, but let's see how we go. So I'm going to start off here, put the base of it in. It's just it's almost like a rectangular shape, and then there's a shape on top there, simplifying it down. Okay, coming up, and then we've got this pole, and it just runs all the way up like this. Oops, it's really a little bit thicker than it should be. There, okay, around about where we want the lights to be, the lamps. We've got one lamp here, and this is almost simplified down to like a rectangular shape. Okay, something like that. There, top of the lamp there. There's four sections, sorry, four lights. So there's one here, there, one here, like that. Remember, you can get in a lot of these details, and you should get in a lot of them with the paintbrush later. So it's more just planning out essentially where they are. With the lamps, you could tend to get to be a bit more careful because there's more intricacies, there's more stuff going on in there. So it's best to spend a teeny bit more time in there like that. You've got this section of the lamp that just connects up to the top part there, and we've got all these intricate sort of details and things coming off. But really, if you think about it, it's just a little line, bit of a curved line, so they almost look like tree branches or something like that. They're just joining up. Look at that, just joining up together, and that creates a sort of lamp there. I'm also thinking, should we get another one in a little bit closer? I know there's not really one in here, but I'm thinking I might try to get in a second one. Look, let's just wing it. Okay, here's one. I'm just going to copy this. Okay, another one here. You don't have to do this one, but I feel like I just want to just add a second one in here to have like 2 rows of them interacting. Make them a bit different as well. Very loose. That just a little bit of a connector part like that. There we go. That's coming down. So we kind of got 2 rows now of them. And where does it end? Probably can stop it around here. There. Okay. There we go. The second lamp in there. I think it just helps a bit with the sense of depth in here. Tiny little directional lines also coming out like this. Oops, this. So if we imagine a point here in the horizon line, the vanishing point, we can draw out a series of lines emanating from that point, just like this. And that's going to allow you to get in just a few of these little marks on the ground, remind yourself of them. Now, one of the most important things is to get in those buildings in the background, this 𝗪𝗘𝗦𝗦𝗘𝗦 area. So I am going to go ahead and firstly just draw a little line here, kind of above the horizon line, to indicate an area of water. So just this section like that, real quick, like that, just a line above the horizon line. Okay, and so this is going to be kind of like the water, the start of the water, because here we're going to have little holes and things like that. There's even other lamps that are here, so small ones like that. Just you can scribble in the approximate location of them. A couple more here, just really basic ones. Like that, they kind of help to balance out these ones on the right too. And what you notice in Venice as you're looking over is you got these like wooden pylons that are just sticking out of the water. So there's so many of them just sort of running in the background. You can even see some little boats, these gondolas here. Okay, I'm gonna go overboard with that, but some of these little lines running down the page like that. Over here, there's actually a bit of, I don't know, it looks like a bit of some trees or something running over in the background. You can barely see it, but, pick out a few things. Here, there's a sign. It's kind of like a sign that's sticking up, just like that. There, and a bit of a jetty that goes out. Here, there's like a lamp that just sticks out. Things like that, putting their approximate location. Now, we're going to go ahead and draw the buildings in the background. Now, we notice in the reference photo, they're actually over here, and I don't want them over here because compositionally, I feel that it's just going to leave too much open space here. I also don't want to put it smack bang right in the middle. So I think we'll start off by putting the start of some of these buildings. So if we got a section here like that, and we got some little of those trees, I'm going to go. Let's get in the side of this building like that, and the bottom parts of the buildings first, okay? And we're just looking at them as rectangles, just little rectangles here on the ground, and this is going to be very subtle. Once we actually go in and paint afterwards, you're barely going to be able to notice them. They should just be you should just be able to see them sticking out in the background softly. The connection between these two buildings. So there's we've got the tower, and then we've got a set of buildings here, which I've just simplified down to a kind of rectangular shape. On the right hand side, again, just simplified this building down into a kind of rectangular shape here. Right smack bang in the middle is where we have, of course, the tower, the clock tower. So here we got to be a little bit more careful. And look at that, it's just a box. It's just a kind of long sort of box on its side, kind of like when you get paper delivered to you in the mail or something in a roll. Those sort of square rectangular boxes. So that's all we're drawing, just a square, it's a rectangular, long rectangular box like that. Um, there, I've enlarged this one a little bit again because I want to create. I just want to make it a bit larger than it is. Okay, then we've got a top bit here, comes down like that. Oops. Okay, I wish probably could have done that a bit better. Um, but I reckon I'll just stick with that and we'll figure it out as we go along. We've also got a section here underneath. Look at that, just a bit of this area where we've got some windows, these three little windows like that. There. Um, mm, like that. So I'm normally use an eraser, but just didn't look so right. Something like that. Okay, there we go. A bit of that, happening. Down, hang on. There. Okay. Now what we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and add some of these other parts here. That's a section there. That's another part of the there. There's also a bit of a dome, which almost just cuts around this. Yeah, it almost just cuts around that hole. Yeah, so I'm just going to put that in, something like this. Yeah. And then we've got a couple of these smaller towers here, which I'm just going to simplify down to these rectangular shapes with a bit of a rounder section on top leading to a point. Something like that. Okay. And we've got this section here, which is kind of like starts off as a triangle at the top, just a triangle there. And then there's sections that just run down the page. Another bit here runs down. Okay, and that's it. That's as simple as it gets. And the main thing is if you've, try your best to just get in that tower. Um, that's, that's something that's going to really stick out apart from all the rest of it. Now, all this is in, we're going to put in some figures. So let's put one in here and I'm walking in this direction there, just to start with the head and then put in a body like that. And some arms, and we can get a leg coming in the front there, and this leg at the back is just sort of standing in that direction. Maybe they're talking. There's two people that are just standing here, and they're talking about something. We get the arm going up, this arm there. Get the leg of this person here, and another leg around about here. So just having a chat about who knows what, had a kind of bag or something that this person's holding onto. So here's a couple of figures, really quick. And remembering also we want to create a sense of depth. So I'm going to make another figure here, larger, moving closer to the viewer. So, and also remember to keep the heads around the same area on the horizon line because we want to imply that there is a flat kind of ground here. Okay, this person could be just walking off in that direction, and coming over here carrying a bag of some sort there, some kind of satchel there. So walking into the distance, into the scene like that, and I've implied that by putting this foot a little bit more forward than the other one. And of course, again, I'm going to just repeat this technique and put another larger figure here. Okay, just going in the same. Maybe he's walking towards us in this way, yeah. And we got the leg here, larger leg in the front, and then we've got a larger leg here in the back. Okay, and I'm trying to put this leg a little bit more forward like this to show that they're walking in this direction, yeah? You can start putting in smaller details for the hands. arms. You know, a couple of arms like this. That's what he's doing. You know, a bit more detail for, you know, there could be a shirt, that kind of thing. Maybe he's wearing like a black jacket over the top, like that. We can have other people. We can have, say, we can have maybe put in a lady here just walking, and you know, with the foot coming out the front like that, and then the foot coming out the back there. Okay, bit of hair there, and it's really just a combination, just putting in a few things in the back, marking out areas where we want some more people. I do want this one to be quite a bit of busy sort of scene. A few people walking here and there. I do feel that there should be someone over here, or at least another lamp. I don't know. I'm really not sure about this. I think I'll just leave this area for simplicity's sake, because I tend to overcomplicate things at times. Let's put in, what can we do? Maybe we can put in a figure just a bit closer, somewhere here, that, and leg here, and a leg here, that. You're just walking into the scene or just standing here. This will be nice as well. Be able to get a bit of a shadow running downwards on the page. Okay, great. So time to get started with the painting, and I'm just going to check the chats. How's everyone going with the drawing? And let's sort of squiz past that quickly. So I hope that's that kind of made sense. Okay, Betty. So I'm just gonna have a look. There's a few little chats there. Just having a look at a few little chats. Nicole. I guess I'm just watching this time since I can't get the reference link to load. Says not available. Yeah, that's really strange. Are you guys on Facebook? Are you guys able to access the reference? Let me know. Let me know in the chats if you are. Some of the viewers on YouTube are just having issues with it. I'll post the link to it again afterwards. Hopefully. Sorry about that, Nicole and others. Doris from Hong Kong. Good to see you. Okay. Good. So Elena, yes. So I think that's what. Yeah, I think people on Facebook are okay finding that the reference. It could be like it could be a thing because it's separate platforms. Maybe they don't want people going to different links and stuff like that. So we're gonna go and do this scene now. And what I'm gonna do, begin with, is I'm gonna pick up yellows. Okay, so let's zoom out with the reference photo. I want to kind of reverse this a little bit and have more purple down the middle section here. So we'll kind of start yellow, purple, and then go back down to yellow again, and then have the yellow kind of come off the ground. Okay, just something different. And maybe showing maybe a bit of a hazy sort of look in the center. So in terms of colors, I'm going to be using a bit of lemon yellow and a little bit of pyrrole orange. Okay, just drop that straight into the sky. That's too orangey, way too orangey. So I'm going to go in and just pick up some more, tiny bit more of this yellow. Wait. Oh, okay, yeah. V saying any other way than Facebook. I don't have Facebook at all. I haven't got the reference anywhere else but on Facebook. But what I'll remember for next time, V, is I'll add a separate link. I'll add a separate link to the reference that anyone can access. Yeah, I'll do that for next time. But yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that, V. So, we're going to go in towards the sky again. Okay, and what I'll do as well is I want to add in a tiny bit. If you guys have a little bit of white gouache, and with the white gouache, I'm going to use that to just make that top section a little bit milkier. Okay, so that we've got almost like a bit of heaviness on the top section of the sky. Okay, don't worry too much about these lights. As long as we've got a warm color in there, we're going to be all right. So just drop that in, bit of white gouache in that section as well. I'm trying to tiny bit here on the palette, something like that. Some more yellow up here. I'm going to use a kind of yellow to purple color combination. Okay, so that's coming down like this. Remember, keeping it nice and light up the top. You don't want too much going on, okay? And I tend to just keep re-wetting this section as well. It's getting warmer over here in Melbourne, and I find that as the weather changes with watercolors, you have to also vary up your techniques and change up the timing as well. So look at that, just a lot of yellow in that section. There is a tiny bit of orange in there, a little bit of gouache. Oops, that's a lot of orange, but that's okay. We'll put in some of that in here. There we go. A bit more yellow. Okay, keep that how it looks, but have a little play around until you're kind of happy with it. I do like putting a little bit of white gouache in the top section because it creates a sense of heaviness in the air. Now, time to pick up some purple, and I've got to be a bit careful here because I've got a lot of this yellow here on the page. It's more of an issue when you've got blues because you can accidentally mix green, but I'm trying to mix up a kind of heavier area of purple, so just drop that in like this. Okay, just here. I'm just going to cut that across, and this section is kind of gone a bit too far up, that section actually, so I'm going to go ahead and meddle around with that a little bit. We're going to bring this purple down the page like this. And you can mix up your own purples. So if you've got a bit of blue and a bit of red, mix them up. You can come up with different variations of it as well. You can mix a bit more blue in there for a bit more of a cooler color. Okay. Coming down like this. Okay. Keeping it pretty light. Remembering this is the area of the sky, so we don't want to eliminate all that light from there. Okay. Take your time, move that down the page. And as we get approximately around here, this is about the point where I'm going to, again, pick up that yellow, a little bit of that yellow, just trying again to keep that a nice soft yellow so that it's not, oops, not too strong. Coming in here, we're just going to cut through everything. A few brush strokes like that there. Just a warm color is fine, okay? And you will get some mixing as I'm here as well. But if you do it quick, if you do this quick, you're going to get a nice gradation of color, like what we've got in this section. So that's looking all right. And, you know, at this point, we can go ahead and try to, you know, put in a little bit more purple. You know, if you want, you can add a few more bits of streaks of purple in areas. This could be like a cloud, for example. Drop in some of these bits of purple here. Could be another kind of section here in the sky. We don't have to do that, but I'm just, you know, for this one, I'm changing it up a bit. Every time I redo a painting or a section, I do try something different. Okay, but there's no harm doing the same one over and over again if you're practicing techniques and things like that. But I do like to change it up a bit if I can. Okay, well, I'm just putting in a few clouds up here. I'm going to see if they work further up in the sky, something like that. And have a look. This line here just needs to be blended a little bit. We've got too much of that yellow going on, and there's a bit of a line that you can see where it just hasn't transitioned as well. A bit of that. Another thing you can do if you've got a spray bottle, a little spray bottle. Where is mine? Got to fill mine up. Be back in a second. A little spray bottle like this. Yeah. Give it a bit of a spray down there. It will blend together a little bit nicer. Okay. Remember, this all dries pretty pretty light. So why I'm just trying my best to see if I can put in a few more bits and pieces of color in here before everything dries. I don't want to overdo it as well. So what we'll do now is, again, I'm going to pick up some of this color, some of the yellow, and go straight into the foreground and the background. Around about here. Too saturated, as you can see. It's almost too saturated. It doesn't make sense. So I'm going to just dull that down a little bit with some neutral tint. Okay. And got a bit of orange in there as well. And the trick here is, as well, is that I've left that section there wet on the, just on the horizon line. So that allows me to essentially carry this wash down the page so that I don't have to stop. This is very important because this allows you to get in basically a bit of contrast when we go in later with the darks. Okay, move that down. We're just moving this wash all the way down. Just think of it as putting in all the warm colors, the warm light colors. A bit of that purple and blue in the front really does help as well. And down a bit more of that orange, but mainly I'm just going to go with yellow, lemon yellow. Moving that all the way down like this. There we go. Lots of water there. Coming down the page. Good. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. So we are pretty much done for this wash. Now, another thing that you can do is you can even add in a little bit of darker color here in the foreground. But I think what I'll do is actually wait until that second wash is through, and then we'll just get in all the darks at once in one big wash to keep things fresh and keep it a two-wash painting, essentially a two-wash painting. Okay. Another thing you might want to do at this stage is pick up a bit of color. So I've got some blue, and I might think, let's put in a bit of blue here. This is just it's manganese blue hue. Okay, it's kind of like cerulean blue, but lighter. It doesn't go as dark as cerulean when you mix up a thick part of it. You know, here's a bit of brown, a bit of burnt sienna. Have some fun. Let's try some pink here. That one. It will all blend into the background, but no problem. It's keeps things fluid. There we go. Bit of blue there. Maybe we got some purple for this person here. Just a bit of color like that. There. I'm probably going to change this up anyway and go in with some gouache. I usually end up going in with gouache at the end anyhow, but it's good to just have some color in there. To begin with, I'm going to put in a bit of red also for the heads. Tiny bit of red there. Arms for this one as well. Like that. Okay, fantastic. So let's give this a little dry. And I'll use my hair dryer, and I'll get back to everyone. So I'm having a look, now at the chats. Having a look now here in the chats. Sorry. Nicole. It's Nicole, not Nicholas, but that's okay. Sorry about that, Nicole. I'm looking at the screen from a distance, so I thought I was looking at your surname and thought it said Nicholas. Apologies. Thanks for being here. V, any other way than Facebook? I don't know if I've already read that. YouTube to put on Patreon post would be nice. Sure. Yeah, I'll link it. I'll link it afterwards in the description and update the Patreon. But if I forget, just message me and I'll send it to you. But I'll definitely upload it onto the YouTube comments. Got a can upload it on the website as well. Okay. Have a look. On YouTube, but the reference photo is too small to see the buildings. I'm just using my imagination now. Um, yeah. I think what we can do, maybe in the break later, I'll upload it. Apologies for that. Have a look. We've got a question from Diana Mueller. What is gouache? So gouache is basically opaque watercolor paint. So it's watercolor paint with some kind of filler added in there normally. So it's a bit of chalk or something like that. So I use normally a bit of white gouache, and it's when you add it to some of your watercolors, you get this kind of heavy sort of feeling, and when you're painting with it, you get effects kind of similar to this. It's hard to see, but with the blue here, okay, it just pops forward, and I use it mainly to finish off. Got a bit of white there, a little bit here in the sky. I've mixed a tiny bit in there to make part of that sky kind of opaque. So that's what I essentially use it for. Okay. Fantastic. So I'm going to give this a quick dry, everybody, and please drop in any questions while I'm getting everything dried off. I'll just pause the audio. Hey guys, sorry, I'm still here. Um, just had a bit of some technical issues, but it looks like it's okay now. So let me know if you're still around. What I've done is I've just posted the reference photo, the link to the reference photo in the community tab in YouTube for people who are having issues finding it. Um, So you should be able to view that. You should be able to view that reference photo. The Yeah, I think I've put that in there. So we're gonna get moving on, and it doesn't really look like much at the moment, and that's because we don't have any of the darks added in yet. So what we'll do, firstly, we're gonna have to pick up some brushes that are a little bit more uh, it's a little bit more detailed oriented brushes. So smaller brushes, these little round brushes, they're going to be great. But a number 8 and a number 10 brush. And what we'll do, we're going to pick up just some dark colors. I've got, again, some of that purple that I've mixed up, really dark purple color here on the side. And I like to use purple, especially for this sort of scene, because we've got all these yellows and especially all these yellows here in the sky and in the ground. So having a bit of that's going to be nice. I'm planning this out as well so that we have essentially a section, we can do this whole section and the shadows in pretty much at the same time. So we'll start off doing the building, then we'll get in some of the shadows. If you have a small spray bottle as well, that would be good. If not, what you can do for the later stage, I'm just going to spray onto this area at the bottom. You can actually just get a bit of water on a brush and just wet part of the ground. So I'll show you what I mean later in terms of some of these shadows, but we'll start off here in the top section. So I'm mixing up myself a decent amount of dark color. I'm just going to shift my painting a little bit so you guys can see. Oops, got a bit of paint splattered onto the surface, but we'll be okay. So we will go more of that purple, and we need a lot of it because if we don't have enough, we might run out halfway while doing this section of the building. Okay, so the main things to keep in mind is that this building, these poles, these light poles and lamps, they need to be darker than these buildings in the background. So that's probably the first thing that I'll do. It's just get in this building here on the left, okay, because it's going to be easy to get in, I think, a darker sort of shape. Okay, so I'm just going to test that out like that. Also have some neutral tint here, which is essentially a grayish color, and we can go ahead and have put this one in. Now, what we'll do first is we'll get in this section at the front, okay, really with more of that dark color. Yeah, I'm going to move that across to the side there. We're just doing a silhouette, guys, just a really simple silhouette. We don't want to spend too much time on this. Just a silhouette like that coming across, and even leave bits of that yellow showing through like that. You just go quickly on the paper like that. We'll get a bit of that yellow showing through. Okay, so more of this neutral tint we've got, and here we go. We're going to move up section here on this top part. We can also swap to a smaller brush if that helps. Little brush in some of these railings and things there. Go, and we're just going to make it stick out like that of the sky there. More of these ones like that. Okay, and this one here, same thing. Just going to bring this down, right? Connect it all up. Okay, this has to be fairly dark, so I would say about 1/2 to 3/4 concentration paint for these areas in the front. You really want to make it stick out, but still remaining transparent. Joining them up like that. I'm just drawing with the brush. Here we go. Section here sticks out of the sky, that bit there. So I'm just going to go ahead and color that bit in. Yeah. Comes out almost like a square shape, like that. There. And there's bits and pieces running down the side of the palace. I'm not going to show all those details. Bring this down there, that, and get further down. Section this pillar, another part of the pillar, then goes directly down. That. Just a silhouette. This. That's part of it. Time to do some of these other pillars. There's one here, just sort of comes in the middle of that section there. Down, this hits the ground about here, and these arches in the back are actually darker, and I want to wait a little bit so that I can drop in some darker paint in this section. A few more running through here. Here we go. That's another pillar. Just spending a little bit more time on these. Get them straight. Okay. Another pillar here, and we've got a section here, which is and that's another section on the left. But just get coming down the ground. That's all we got to do. Okay. For the rest of it, I'm just going to pick up a bit of a darker mixture. So in this section, for example, not dark enough, but sort of around like this darkness here, that we can get a bit of that blending in there, just a bit of that contrast, slightly darker region in the back there. Okay, great. A lot of this wet on wet work. Blend that a bit more there. If it's too much, you can go in and just like lift off a section like that. Okay, but having a bit of that, just implying a bit of darkness behind there is good. And also these, look over here, you've got sort of an arch that just, this whole thing is a large sort of arch. Darkness, so a bit of darkness here. This area is dried up the top, but that's okay. I'm going to re-wet a bit of that. We're going to just drop in color. Color. Bring that down. Good. Around this like that. Okay. And I think that should be all right for now. So I'm going to finish off this top section again. We left that to dry. It's kind of hard to do it all at once. The moment here, it's weather is really starting to warm up. This area has almost completely dried. So look at that, bit of a railing. This is a sort of point where you want to just be a little more careful getting these areas of railings. So I'm concentrating. Could be another pole or something heading up. There we go. All right. Make them up at the top a little like that. Oops. This. There. Great. And I'll just spray also this section a little bit further down underneath the figures and things as well. Just re-wet the bottom part of the page slightly. Not the whole thing, but especially some areas here in the foreground. I want to create a bit of a puddle of color down there. Okay. So what we will do is, I'm going to do this quickly. Got a number 8 round brush. Number 8 round brush. Mixed up some of this purple color, a bit of that neutral tint, pretty dark, and let's drop a bit in here, see how we go. So we can also use a flat brush. Flat brushes work super well for things like this too. So if we've got a, let's have a look. That's probably the size of that one. So we're going to just spray it down a little bit here. We don't have a spray bottle. Just use your paintbrush and just wet the bottom section a little bit, and just wait just 30 seconds before you go in there, just so that we get some softer looking shadows. So I'm going to try it out for this one first. So tap at the bottom of the base there, and we're going to make sure I've got enough paint in there first. Always underestimate this part. There we go. I'm just going to drop this in like that. Okay, it's going to spread and do its thing here. Okay, I've used this effect before in the London kind of scene that we did a while ago. It's an amazing little effect. So quick as well, just to get in some of these areas of shadows and reflections. Darken up. The great thing as well is that we have obviously these figures and what have you here that we can join in to the shadows too, little reflections. If it starts looking a bit too put together at the bottom, but just add some more water like that. Okay, remember all this kind of just blends into each other weirdly. This legs for this figure here. We'll have to redo these on the figure anyway, but probably reinforce those shadows on the figure a bit later. But we're going to join these down, kind of like this. Bit of that shadow going down like this. Same for this one here. Moving down the page, here, and bits and pieces in the middle. This, okay, just a bit of darkness here in the front. Already started to dry on the right hand side. It's really warm here. Another thing you can do, just to also mix things up, you can hit the paintbrush on the page like this with a bit of paint on there. That will kind of splatter a bit of paint in sections and create some inconsistencies and things in the ground. You don't want to do it too much, but a little bit like this is nice. And you know, also for this section where we want to indicate a lot of darkness, we can just put in a few large brush strokes like this on the ground. And then again, pick up that little flat brush that I've got, and start working on the figures, getting them to kind of mix in a little bit. So that could be like a leg of a figure there. Yeah. Leg of that figure like this there. This could be another figure here. Here's some more legs of these figures, and we're going to get the little bit of reflection of the figure running down into this foreground, wet onto wet. Okay, sort of disappearing in there like that. Okay, yeah, this one so that it kind of goes down the page, sort of like that. And while we are also here, we might as well do this other one. It's a lamp. Any kind of vertical shape, anything that's standing, moving around, you can just do this and get in again a little kind of reflection running down the page. Try to do it quickly like that. Areas where it hasn't joined too nicely, but we can fix that up a bit later. Okay, a little bit of that. Now I'm going to go into the lamps. Okay, this section here in the back, just want to put a bit of water here and a bit of just a bit of variation here in the background. It'll look all the same. That great. Neutral tint. I'm just going to use neutral tint, a really dark sort of color. And we'll start off. Let's do this one first. Yeah, there we go. Really dark. Coming up. I'm going to draw this one in. It's very dark, this lamp. If it mixes a little bit, we don't have to worry. Okay. There we go. Just be careful with it. There we go. That there. Then you're basically just drawing in that lamp. That's a section there. It's a lamp. These bits coming off. And we're going to outline the top of the lamp like that. Top of this lamp like that. Top of this lamp. Just a line and a couple of dots there. There. And then we also have this section underneath the lamp which kind of bisects it into segments like this here. This little line like that. There. Another line here. Something like that. Another bit at the bottom. There we got it. Just a really simplified lamp like that. Before I forget, guys, we want to also just do these buildings in the background. I've almost forgotten about them, so it's a good thing I've remembered. So let's pick up a bit of purple mixed with neutral tint. Now, the concentration's got to be less than these buildings and stuff here as well. So we want to leave a little bit of light running underneath the buildings. So maybe the light reflecting off the left side of these buildings. And the top, we're going to... Now, the concentration of paint I'm using is probably 25% paint and 3/4 water. A bit like there. Find top segment of that. Remember, we want to leave a tiny bit of light on the left side. That pretty sharp. The most important part of this hour. Just leave some of that left, the left-hand side a bit lighter. That. Okay, that's it. Okay, once it kind of starts looking like something, just leave it. Okay, a bit more here. Look at that, we've got a tower there, a tower there. It's only a few brush strokes. As you get more confident in painting, you'll find out that it doesn't take all that many brush strokes. And especially in watercolors, I find that overworking things can just lead to paintings that lose that magic, that magical sort of freshness that you can get in watercolors. So that, just leaving a bit of light on that left-hand side, that's all we need to apply. That's it. Okay. There's maybe a section here that's darker. What have we got? It's not really that light below, isn't it? It's kind of a bit of, leave that light there in most of that section, but just darken off some parts of it a little. Here, it's pretty much just all dark. And this section here, that, there, top part of this section is kind of like that. There. Notice how light I'm going as well. This is going to help push it back into the distance. Okay. This here as well, it's kind of just dark. That building at the back corner. That. There is also a building here, which I'll get in a little bit like that. Indication of it being there. There's a few more things here in the distance. Remember also there's some kind of trees or some shrubs running behind there. Okay, like that. You don't have to go nuts with them. And what can we do now? We can go in and do some of these tiny little lamps here in the background. Let's get in this one. So little vertical running down the page. Remember, we're keeping the stuff in the background lighter, okay, because we don't want these lamps to stick out all that much. There's another one. In fact, this is probably a bit dark. Another one here. And a smaller round brush would actually be better. I'm using a round brush that's too big. Little one like this. Always alter the brush that you're using depending on what your shape, size of the shape as well. And another thing here, we've got to get in a little vertical down the page. Join everything up. Going into it's all right. Bit of a vertical there too. Some figures here and some verticals running down like this. Some of them are sharper than others. That's okay. It's kind of dried off already. That there, a few more here in the background. I think I'll redo the legs a bit as well. And you can even just drop in just a teeny bit more color. And I really don't want to overdo this. But the legs do need a teeny bit more strength in areas. See this one here in the foreground, but again, we can do a lot of this later with a tiny bit of dry brush. See, this is what it looks like. If you go in right now, it's going to blend and look a bit more abstract. But if we wait till a bit later, we can get a bit of dry brush again in there. But essentially, all this stuff at the bottom, we're not going to touch anymore. All this wash, that's the magic that's happening here. We want to leave that in. Now, the large, the large lamp here, I'm going to go pick up some darker pigment. And let's have a try. Where do we start? Around about here. It's not dark enough. A bit darker. Just neutral tint. Neutral tint. I was just waiting because I wanted this area of the dome to dry first. It may actually blend in because I'm going in early. But look, let's just do it. Let's just give it a go. This is blending in at the bottom, the base of this area too. That. Whereas this one hasn't dried. So this is a good exercise in kind of wet on wet watercolor as well. You look at that. This is blending in even to the background of the dome and things like that there. Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna go anyway. Okay. There we go. And we got this section here. Kind of copying that one. Okay, there's a section there. Bit of the top part of the lamp like this. There. 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 There we go. Okay. Section here for this lamp. Yeah. They're kind of just like rectangles. Slightly off rectangle. Go. Couple of lamps. That's all it takes. Really all it takes. Great. Now, all the buildings in the background, what I also want to do, I'm not sure if it's completely dried yet. That's okay. What we can do, before we go and add in all the final, bits and pieces and stuff like that, I'm going to give this all a really quick dry. We're about 90% done, 85 to 90% done. Or what I want to do, for example, here, which we can still we can get this one in. So maybe a bit of darkness here on the shirt, on the jacket of this figure, like that. Just a little bit of darkness to bring this this person forwards. We're just essentially bringing out some details in the figures, and they're walking around doing their thing. So this one's a bit closer to us, so we can darken this figure up a bit more. Darkness like that. Okay. What have we got here? We've got this person probably needs to be darkened up a bit too. Put in a bit of blue color here. got a bag or something. Holding down. There we go. These ones in the background. Again, let's just warm, add a bit of darkness onto them, but not too much. Too much. Okay. Something like that. Darken them off a little. Stick out this person here. A little bit more work as well. That there. Okay, there's some more figures, little figures here in the background. I've not really put them in too detailed, just like that. As the smaller they are in the background, the less detail you need to put in. Really just need a head and a couple of legs and a body, hopefully. Preferably put their bodies onto. Okay, let's have a look here. Little detailing. Get a bit of neutral tint, dry off the brush, and in some of these windows. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And that's it. We're going to leave that. I'm going to separate this section. 1, 2, 2 lines. Remember, just trying to use the least amount of brush strokes as you can to keep it looking fresh. Bit of dry brush maybe here on that side to keep just kind of like give that building a bit more texture. That okay. A few more things you can do, like here we can add in a little bit more color and a couple of verticals running in. That there, a few more verticals, bit more detail. Okay. Don't want to overdo it. Okay, let's have a look. What are we dealing with here? Bit more dry brush for this figure on that left hand side. Bit ground here more. That. Fantastic. So we'll give this one final dry, and I'll show you what I do with the final sort of finishing touches. So I'll get just a really quick dry, so that I want to leave the paper a little bit damp so that it still mixes kind of together, but I don't want any big blotting sort of things coming up in the background there. Okay, so we'll need a small brush for this. I've got this little number 6 round brush, and the final bits really are just putting in, the things that we were talking about before, these little bits here on the horizon line of the poles and things like that. Look at that, just a little pole. There's one, they're quite dark actually, so some of these will help to bring this section in more. Just little poles here in the distance. There could be like boats in there as well, so kind of join some of them up. That it's just the final finishing touches, really. Little bits and pieces like that. This is some kind of thing. What is it? Yeah, bit of no, the multitasking. Trying to multitask. Lost what I was trying to say. But a lot of this stuff is just, it's just sticks and things here. Okay, I don't really care what it is. It's just to tie the background into a bit of the foreground. Okay, because we've got these figures connect with the background, which and these lamps also connect with the background. It's creating a sense of cohesion in all the painting. Even these shadows that I've done, it's for that same kind of purpose as well. Okay, here we go, a couple of legs. one of the things I've realized is that I've done these legs a bit too darkened a little. Okay, so this type of thing is fine. Depends how much you want the figures to stick out as well. I do want mine to be part of the oops, it's an accident. I do want my figures to be part of the overall scene rather than a bit of there. Left the heads a little bit of red on there as well. We can go ahead, let's put in a bit of hair on some of them. Here's some hair. There. There. A bit of hair there. I sort of used it to indicate the direction that they're facing as well. So this one here, hair's coming down the back. Looks like she's facing this person here. They're kind of looking at each other. This person here, we can make it look like they're walking towards us like this by just putting some hair there and leaving part of the face. Here we got a few more in the background. We've got this person walking into the scene. So that's why I'm going to use, put the hair kind of floating towards the back. This one here, we're going to put in the hair just directly on top like this. A bit more effort as well. They get in the face. A little bit more effort like that. Okay. It's closer. Good, good, good. I haven't had to use any gouache, which is good. Okay, little detail thingos, little bits of detail. So I'm gonna have a look in and see what are we kind of missing. And I know this section here, I do want to define this arch more. So I'm going to go in there, go in a section of this arch, down like this, of that arch. It's really up to you whether you want to darken a bit behind here. I feel like I want to do that. I just want to contrast here in that section to mirror with that. I really like that effect. I would preferably like to get that same effect, same sort of effect. She comes out of the screen a little bit, that, okay. But I will soften this edge a little to that. A little bit of softening, a bit more darkness in here, okay. A bit more darkness on this side too. Just up, altering areas here as well. Look, we can get in a bit more detail for parts of the building. This can be a section like this. There. Here. Section on the edge of the building. Yeah. Okay. A little bit of that. So subtle. I don't want it to be all too sticking out all too. Otherwise, this will just draw too much attention. Yeah, there we go. A few more lines just running down here. The watercolors that I'm using here is just a really light wash of the same color, really, background. So that's helping straighten up some of these. Great. Add in a few little birds. There's one. Ooh, kind of like V's in this. That varied. Two here, one here, here, two here, like that. Yeah. Sort of in a flock. That there. A few up the top here. Yellow. And look, we're pretty much done. I'll go in later and tidy things up here and there and look at what else I can sort of change around and add a bit more detail. I may add some a bit more darkness to the figures, especially the legs, but I don't want to touch that ground. I like the look of that. I probably look at getting a bit more slightly a bit more detail into the background, maybe a bit more detail here into this side of the arches. But that's essentially it. Quick little thing. So what we'll do now, I'm just going to have a look at the chats and let me know how you're all going. Love to hear and see what you've come up with. So I'll just have a look at the chats for a little bit, and what we'll do is take a short break as well, so that you guys can go get something to eat, to drink, and start back again in 15 minutes. But I'll keep the chats open. I'll just keep an eye on the chats, I mean, for the next 5 minutes. Next 5 minutes. And I'll probably be eating something as well. So just let me know if you have any questions, and we'll go from there. I'm just having a look. What do we got? The chats. Lindsay from Melbourne trying to catch up. Yep. Okay, Lindsay, we're having a quick break in a moment anyway, so rewatch it. And for those of you who are watching this on replay, you can just skip through them well. So 𝗪𝗙𝗙𝗢𝗡, very good, very good. And 𝗪𝗙𝗙𝗢𝗡 PF. Will the first layer of color get lifted once it's dried? It depends on the paper that you're using. So some watercolor papers have a tendency to dry to lift a lot more than others. I know that some of the Canson stuff tends to do that, which can be a good or bad thing depending on depending on your style. So I know some beginners prefer to have a paper that does lift out more, so that it's more forgiving if you make errors and things like that. If you're using generally paper that's 100% cotton, it's harder to lift when it's dried. I can say that. It's still possible. And for those of you wondering how to lift off paint, essentially what you do is, you wait for it to dry, and then you can pick up a bit of clean water, just a bit of clear water, and just kind of go over the section that you want to lift, leave the water there for a little bit, then you get a tissue, and then you sort of lift off like that. And you can also kind of just do the same thing with the brush, wet the area with the brush, dry off the brush, and use the brush to lift off paint. And it takes quite a while actually to do that. So if you are able to catch it while the paper is still wet, if you're able to lift off while the paper is still wet, that's ideal. So that's what I'd suggest. But sometimes, if it's already dry, that's the best you can do. So a technique some people use for that is kind of for the lamps as well. So if we had a really dark sky here and I didn't want to use masking fluid and I didn't want to just not ruin, but sort of interrupt this beautiful wash, what happens, some people can just actually, I've seen some people paint over the entire thing purple and then at the end lift off very slowly and then add a bit of yellow and white gouache on there to make those lamps kind of pop out. I hope that answered your question, Chiok. 𝗪𝗚𝗪𝗚𝗪𝗚𝗪𝗚𝗪𝗚𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 And 𝗪𝗏𝗡, I have the experience of accidentally lifting the first layer of color after applying second layer of color on it. Okay, yeah, I know what you mean. It, it's almost unavoidable at times to yeah, it's almost unavoidable to not lift that second layer. But I do find with cotton watercolor paper, it it makes it a little bit more difficult. It's easier to layer over without lifting. But obviously, if you're wetting a bit of the paper, that pigment's going to come out, and there's going to be a little mixing in there. So you can only do the best and with what you've got, and often the mixing leads to some really beautiful, unanticipated results. Never know. Okay. Meredith McGowan, first painting, lots of fun. Welcome, Meredith. And in terms of where to share it, if you go to the event link, you'll be able to find the links to the group. So there's Watercolor Mentor community. We also have a group called Watercolor Beginners. I made that group about a year ago. There's quite a few people in there that just from all different areas of the world post their paintings in there. But Watercolor Mentor community is more of a community that's based on these particular streams that I do, and so small that you can post your stuff. That helps. Let's have a look. Philip. Great. The reference photo, V. V's one of my patrons on Patreon. New patrons sign up this morning. Good to have you on board. And if you have any questions about the courses, like all the videos that I put up on Patreon, I'll give help. Bonnie, thank you. I really enjoyed this. Bonnie passed. Thank you, Bonnie. Good to see you again. Philip, love the rainy looking foreground. Yeah, it's an interesting sort of scene because it almost the reflection, yeah, the reflection patterns almost look like it's almost like a scene that you do on a rainy day scene. And I think you've seen some of I did another like street rainy day scene. So I think it's turned out quite interesting. So I probably would have made the shadows maybe a little bit sharper. I could try another one at some stage and just try to make those shadows a little bit sharper to see how that would look. Yeah. Hey. Right. Mine bled too much when I sprayed it, and I tried to remove some of it and messed it up. Dried now, it looks barely okay. Great session on painting loosely, thank you. Don't be too hard on yourself, V. It's like learning how to do wet watercolor painting is it's really one of the hardest things because you're working with a medium that's really quite difficult to control. And when you're adding water into the mix, it sort of changes everything up again. You know, you think it's starting to dry, and then it just pigments start shifting left and right. This thing goes here and there. But I found that just experimenting around with different wet techniques, it really helps to, I guess for you in the future, when you do it over and over again, you're going to get an idea of what's going to happen if you introduce a bit of water here at a certain quantity, maybe spray from a distance, maybe a couple of sprays, you know how much it sort of generally spreads. Or if you pre-wet a section, generally you'll just be able to remember what time to go in there to drop in the paint. If you wet that section straight away, drop that paint in, it's just going to spread. But if you drop that water in, wait for about 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how hot the weather is where you're at, it will spread less and you'll get some of this separation in pigment, which I really like. So main thing is, keep trying and use this as a learning kind of experience for just learning wet. And this is something new as well. I haven't done Venice with this sort of wet foreground before, so it's worked out okay this time, because I know I've used this wet on wet effect in other other scenes. So it's not the first time I've done it. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Okay. Shinolan says, man, I'm late. Welcome, Shinolan. We're going to take a real quick break, and you can rewind it, but I'm going to put this on the kind of waiting screen, and we'll see how we go. But I'll be back in about 15 minutes, everyone. Just take a quick break. Okay. Okay, hello everybody. I hope you had time to grab yourself some lunch or have a nice little breather. I'm back, and what we're going to do is go ahead and try this other scene. I'm just going to get rid of that reference so that we've just got the Annecy reference up on the screen. Now, for those of you on YouTube, I've posted the new reference photo in the community tabs. I can just link the reference to it for you guys. It's just right on top of the community tabs here. Just posted that link in case you're wondering. You can't access the Facebook one. So this one we're going to do in line and wash. And for those of you who are unsure what kind of pens I use, because it's a pretty usual question I get, what pens do you use? And the ones we'll be using here is primarily I'm going to use a 0.7 Uniball eye pen. Okay, this is just the liquid ink black pen that has a roller ball kind of nib, and it allows me to basically get in a nice strong line. The ink is a bit different, so that the application of the ink comes off a bit differently than using pigment liners. Pigment liners, you tend to get a bit more of a scratchy looking line. It skips over the paper more, whereas when you're using these ink pens, ink rollerball pens, they tend to produce a sharper, more refined sort of line. That can be good, but it also can be limiting in ways. I tend to use these just for stylistic reasons. So probably just use that one, the 0.7 and the 0.5 for this sketch. I'm just going to see if I can adjust the camera a little bit, make it closer. Struggle. I hope that looks all right for you, for everyone. At least what you'll be able to see is is my palette. So the bigger view of my palette. I had to move the camera back a little bit before so that we could get in that painting, this Venice painting. A lot larger bit of paper. You can see it's a lot larger than this. So I'll move it back. So I'm just going to have a look and check on the chats. We've got Sui joining us. Hey Sui, and V, looks like you've got access to the the reference, which is great. Nikki, good to see you again. And Nikki's one of my subscribers on YouTube, and she usually watches my weekday streams. Good to see you here again on the weekend, Nikki. There's a question by Diana Mueller on Facebook. So Diana asks, what brand of paint do you use? What colors did you use for this painting? So the colors, the brand that I use a whole different type of whole different combination of brands. So I use a combination of Mugello, Daniel Smith, and Schminker. So some of these paints are Schminker, some of these, so the yellows here, it's just basically gamboge yellow, a bit of lemon yellow, pyrrole orange. The red here is just a bit of pyrrole red. The purple, I've just basically mixed a little bit of ultramarine blue with a bit of carmine to make that purple. More ultramarine just to create a darker sort of purple. In terms of the blues, that's about it. I just used that one, yeah, for that first painting. But for Annecy, we're going to use pretty much similar colors, but probably leave out more of the purple and go with the more blues. Some of these brighter yellows, so gamboge, lemon yellow. I'm also going to use some of these sandier colored muted yellows, so yellow ochre, a bit of this yellow here, which is Naples yellow, a bit of a yeah, a bit of a sandy sort of yellow. I've got some burnt sienna here as well, and I've got some manganese blue hue. So just this little bit I squeezed out here. Okay, but I'll keep you updated on while I'm painting to let you know what we'll be using. The important thing is to start getting in the drawing, and I'll explain to you how to simplify this down too. So let's go ahead. Doris, apparently Doris is saying Hong Kong is experiencing a number 8 typhoon. Hope you stay safe, Doris. And I'll understand if you have to pack up and leave. But in all seriousness, I hope everything's okay over there. We had an earthquake over in Melbourne. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but that was a big thing for us. And in my apartment, and it happened about 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning. And I live in a high rise flat, and I woke up and I thought someone was shaking me awake, and the bed was moving left and right. And I looked out the window, and the horizon line was just moving up and down, and so I thought something's happening, obviously. So yeah, it was quite a you know, frightening sort of experience, especially when you're up on a higher floor. You can really feel that building sway. We don't really have earthquakes over in Melbourne. I don't know if in the States or in other countries where you guys are from, whether they're pretty common, but yeah, bit of a sidetrack convo, but go ahead and gonna go and get started now. So let's put in some little guiding lines first for this one. And what I mean by that, I'm just going to put in, got the reference picture up. Okay. Now, one thing I always like to do is think, how can I make the reference picture look better? How can I create something that looks unique from the reference picture? Because I don't want to just copy it. I want to change it up and make it, basically make it my own, so that your drawing and your piece isn't in direct comparison with the reference. I think if you try to replicate that reference exactly, you're always going to fall short. So look at ways you can simplify, change things up. And here what I've done is that I actually cropped the picture a little bit because I want to make the this little path here come in a bit more, so that we've got a bit more of these kind of flowers or what have you come up here in the foreground. Okay, and then we've got this bridge which sort of starts around about here, right? Like that. And then we've got the kind of general horizon line out the back there. But we've also got a lot of these kind of shops and things like that. These little shades, which are quite typical of these French and Italian sort of scenes. And I love the colors that they have in them. It's amazing. So some of that going through there. We've also got like an umbrella here. I'm really just trying to put in a bit of detail in here, mainly just placing objects, planning out what I'm doing. I do like these kind of bushes or things, these plants here. I've never done this scene before, so a bit of this planning out does help. Okay, but we will simplify this a fair bit, everyone. So here's a couple. We've got a figure here. There's so much stuff in here that we just have to take a bit more care in organizing everything so that it doesn't overpower the message that we're getting across. All these little details don't overpower what's going on. So that could be a table there. This could be like a person here. We might get a larger person here in the foreground as well, kind of covering part of that table up. Let's try that. Put a larger person here and see how that looks. Okay, that kind of works. And the question is, do I want to get rid of some of this flowers and things like here on the left-hand side? And I think I'll leave them in. I think I'll leave them in, but what I'll do here is perhaps put in a larger figure walking into the scene here from that, just going away from that side there. And legs might disappear off the the screen a little bit. And the screen is the paper a little bit there. Little people here in the background. And what I'll do later is I'll actually zoom in on the reference picture and pick out a few little details that I can add. Now we've got the buildings here, just a little bit of this section in the middle. We're going to simplify that down like that. The buildings come up here and get out the scene kind of at the top there. And we've got all these buildings here, and then this this sort of section there, and a bit of a building like that there. So I don't know what these are, little chimneys, like little chimneys. That, and of course, the edge of the water. I don't know whether I want to get in a boat or something like that. It might be worthwhile just putting in a couple of basic boats here, maybe lined up, maybe a larger one here. Sometimes there's stuff in the boats like that. Ooh, little boats would be nice, and maybe a larger one here as well. I'm just making this up from memory. It's nothing, certainly nothing super complicated. Just something like that. And it more, it's kind of like a cup, little teacup floating on the water. And the bridge over here, look at that bridge. This little pencil sketch really helps as well if you're a beginner and you're a bit worried going straight in with the pen. And the idea is just to get out a basic outline where everything is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the drawing, and I'll go ahead and begin kind of around here. We've got an umbrella. I'm going to just zoom in a bit to the reference photo. A person just here over on this side. Put the head in. Kind of wearing a cap, cap that's facing backwards like that. Okay, like that, and then it's like that. He's got a hoodie on and a backpack sort of slung over the side of him there. Just a backpack. So I'm just going to get in an indication of him there. This is the hoodie that he's wearing, and a bit of neck point. Go an arm coming out to the front like that. Okay, and bottom of the jacket like this. Okay, then we're going to go get in the legs. So we've got one leg coming out kind of more towards the back here. Okay, leg coming out towards the back, and then we've got one leg coming more towards the front like this. So kind of looks like he's walking into the scene a bit more this way. Okay, there we go. I might have to refine that a bit later, a bit more the shoes in and things like that, but just scratch that in like that. There are a bunch of objects here in the foreground. There's a bike. There's really a lot of little details and things happening, and I'm going to just try my best to indicate some sort of bike or something here. These are going to be the handlebars of the bike, hatching like that. And what have we got? A little bar down there, and the wheel, sort of like this, coming out of the scene there. And behind, we've just got all these kind of flowers and things. And how I'm going to indicate that is just these round, sporadic little marks here like that. It even looks to be some kind of basket or something. A basket behind one of the bikes. It can be a little prop that we put in. The great thing with line and wash is that you can practice drawing these little shapes like that. Okay, great. There's so much going on in here. I mean, I think this is a baby's, those baby seats on the back. So, be anything in there. I just want to fill up this area with some interesting looking shapes and objects. There could be anything really. Okay, even more handlebars. Could be handlebar of another bike or something like that. There, coming off the side like that. Another one here. Well, just indicate what you think might be in that section. This could be a wheel that's facing forwards like that. Okay, and what do we have in here? We've got just all basically little bits and pieces. They could be like flowers. You could put in sort of like that here and there. Look at that. Fantastic. And I'm going to get in a table or something here in the background with a chair, perhaps just interacting in this section. Chair like that, a bar stool, something like that. Okay. Chairs that are in this scene overall. We've got a person here as well, sort of turn to the side, that, and just going to get in a outline, just a quick little outline of this person there. Maybe the arm coming down to the side like that. Shorts, this, and legs, one coming down like this, the other one towards the back there. Here we go, another leg towards the back. Color in these shorts as well. So there's another little figure, and we can start putting on things like add on a little hair for that one. We've also got this larger figure here that's walking in from the distance, from the side, and I'm going to simplify this one down. Look, maybe like a bit of the arm coming in like that, this arm disappearing off. Could even be walking towards, but coming out of the scene. So you just got bits of the leg in, like that, so that it leads the viewer kind of in the scene a bit more. So we've got a few more things going on. As we go into the background, we can do things like this. Just simplify those figures down a bit too. So we've got a combination of more complicated figures and ones that are just a part of the background. That so like a collared shirt on or something. Arms running down the side. I forgot this on that side. Arms puking up. And obviously on these restaurants, you got kind of, these menus or what have you that just stick out of the wall like that. So I'm trying to get a bit of that one in. And of course, things like this umbrella, we can also start off with. So a little bit of, let me zoom out of the photograph a little. Zoom out of the photograph a little. And okay, just we're seeing where we want these to start and finish. Yeah. Okay. It's the bottom of this umbrella here. They're off in the back somewhere. Yeah. And yeah, bottom of it there. And we've got the kind of lighter part of the umbrella just coming up, disappearing off like that. But you've got these sort of sections underneath that all going to connect up this stem here, and that sort of comes all the way down like that behind that figure. We've also got this section of the shade cloth like that, which I'm gonna get in as well. Interesting thing here is that there is some kind of lamp or what have you. You can barely see it. I probably will leave it out actually. And we've got this shade cloth which just comes out and then goes all the way behind and kind of connects onto this side of the building there. But behind it, it's really just a section that joins up like that. Bit of support like that. Okay, and other umbrella sort of shapes in the background. Something like here, bit of that. Just a bit of that umbrella shape. I'm gonna get a stem in like that as well. More people, maybe just standing around underneath here. They could be at a table or something like that as well. Off in the background, we can do things like a door. So we could put a, darker sort of door shape behind this figure here. Okay. The interesting thing is that there's the shadows kind of running towards that right hand side. So I think this will be good, good fun to get in. Legs of this table also form a bit of like some shadow sections as well. Okay, and we'll keep working on these little kind of areas of these bushes that overlapping with each other. And as we get to the back, I'm going to make them a little smaller. This bit kind of comes out into the water there. I don't know what this is. Some kind of platform that comes out into the water like that. I need to get that in. And continuing on, let's get in this one here, just a little shade like that. Moving back into the building and disappearing off like that. It kind of overlaps actually with this other one, but I haven't been able to get that in exactly. Another thing we want to do is get in things like the lamps. So we got a lamp coming up here, stem, that little pole, bring that up and finish around about here. Zoom in. How big do we want this? Probably around this big. That. Yeah. There we go. That's a lamp. Up, there's a bit more detail up here. There. We can change it up. We can put like another bit of the lamp. It could be like kind of like those ones we did before. In Venice. And we'll continue on. There we go. Little lamp there. Just patch the stem a bit. Really helps to practice doing these, and you're able to actually improve on your drawing skills significantly. You've got to just learn to play around with shapes and things overlapping. I tend to draw on larger bits of paper, and so this also is good practice for me, just drawing smaller figures and things like that. Okay, keeping it simple by using one pen here as well. That and trying to create these weird contour figures where they all join up together just looks quite crowded off in the background like that. Okay, but I don't want to overdo it as well. Okay, there we go. We're just back here on the bridge. There's a bridge here. Go ahead and draw a straight line across where we got the bridge. Here. Is it too high? That's the question. Let's see. We want the bridge a little bit further down. So one of the bottom parts of the bridge starts here. There's another bit of the bottom part here. there. The two connectors that join onto the water, and the little arch there. Yep, and we get the arch here. Yep, that. Just go up and down. Yep, this goes up. This goes down actually in the corner like that. It's all just darkness section. There we go. Bit of darkness in there. And of course, on top, we're going to start putting in some of these figures, just walking across the bridge. And the way, a little technique I'll get you to try here is holding that pen and try not to take your pen off the paper. Just going to draw in a bunch of people like this. Okay, this is just another technique to show you how to get in some abstract people walking around here in the distance on this bridge. And I haven't taken my pen off the paper once doing this. Okay. Looks a bit messy, but from a distance, it just looks like people. A whole crowd of people. And it doesn't look too overworked as well. Rather than sitting here and try to draw every little person in, okay, we can go and just, even draw in part of this bridge, the fence of the bridge. Some little vertical lines like this, but I'm not going to emphasize that as much as the reference because we're going to risk just blotting out these figures completely. Okay, there we go. So we got a bit of this in now. Looking at some areas I can darken a little. And let's have a look. The buildings, this is where things start to get a little bit more tricky. We've got 3 buildings. We've got we've got 4 buildings, 4 big buildings here on the left, and they end around about mid-center, approximately here. Let's start here. Get in a little shade, these kind of similar to these, just a little shade, this, like that. I'm gonna get in another one actually next door to it. That. They're good to indicate the bottoms of buildings. That's why I use them as well. You can get a bit of light kind of reflected onto them too, so it's a good little trick. Help to overlap, and it continues this pattern of umbrellas and shade cloths all the way up into the back like that. So for here, I'm just going to go and draw directly up where I think it will approximately finish, say about here. Okay, and then we're going to divide these up. So from here to here, we're going to divide this into half, around about here. Okay, so let's draw a line down like this. Yep. And then we're going to do this building here on the right first. So I'll start approximately here and just bring this all the way down like this. Okay, and we're already at the point where there's a kind of window sticking out like this on the sides. So let's draw that in. Window there. Sorry, not a window, shutter. That. Okay, overlapping. So some horizontal lines like that running through. And then we've got the actual window, which is here. And of course, another part of the other shutter like that there. Another window here, which is a larger one. And because these windows are closer as well, we do have to put in a tad more detail into them than we have with other bits and pieces. So join this one on well to that. And what have we got here? It's a little section that just again joins onto another shutter to the right. And then this can be like another shutter here, section like this. Okay. So we're all just indicating what is going on in here. I'm just looking at shapes. In fact, this can be just maybe this can just be like a big shutter or something. Part of the building, another window that's off the scene. This section is divided into 2. the second floor and the first floor with this white line, and let's get that line in the same direction as these windows. So it's in this direction. We want to make it in the same way, running in the same direction. Parallel. And there we go. It comes off like that. Then we've got windows here. There's one window. A second one here, maybe. That. Got a third one here. It disappears off as well, off into the distance. Okay. That's it. That's the two basic floors of this building done. Go in and I'm going to do the same thing for this one. We know that this bit kind of sticks out. There's a kind of section like that, comes out like that. The you call it. It's not a gutter, but it's a feature of the building like that. There we go, and like that. Kind of dark underneath as well. So I'm just going to draw a few horizontal lines running underneath. You know, there's a section here, this little triangular shape. Okay, Shanolan's asking a question. Have you done any landscapes of Australia? I have done like little sketches here and there, but I haven't done any live. So it might be a good idea for next time. I mean, if you guys have oh yeah, actually no, I lie. I have done some of Australia. I've done I've done a few little paintings of Melbourne, Perth, and things like that where I'm originally from, but I haven't done any line and wash ones. So if you'd like to see that, I can go ahead and try find some photos, or if anyone out there living in Australia has some photos, some landscape photos that you want me to try, just let me know, upload them, and send me a message, and I can give it a go. Okay. Just a rooftop. Disappears back in here. This goes up here. And Meredith McGowan says, I'd really like to see some bush scenes, red gums. Yeah, I'll definitely consider that. Firstly, I mean, before I do one of those live, I think I'll want to just try a few sketches and make sure I can do them properly before showing you guys. But yeah, there's an Australian artist, 𝗪𝗙𝗄𝗡, who does beautiful landscapes, absolutely beautiful watercolor and oils. So I'm definitely open to giving that a try at some stage. Thank you for these suggestions. Okay, I'm going to draw a line coming across like this. Have a look at that. This building has 4 floors. First floor at the bottom, and then you got these almost like 3 floors from where this line starts up here. So kind of where we drew this little shady object. It's this little area of the building there. What I'm going to do is actually work on this section, separate this out into 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So we're into thirds, basically into thirds. Let's get a line. Yeah, we're just running across here. There, then we got another line running across here. It doesn't have to be perfect, yeah? In fact, it should be more of an angle. Put that in wrong. A little bit more of an angle, like that. The comment from V. V says, ink is so unforgiving. Any way to fix the roof, since there's no way to hide my mistake, as it is just sky above it. I went too wide on my right side of the peak. right side of the peak. Do you mean one of these little sections here for the top part of the roof, or you mean here? So you've kind of gone to the buildings are shifted too much towards to the right. One thing to always remember is that this reference picture, when people are taking photographs, they come in all different angles, and depending on how close you are to the scene, whether the photographer crops part of it. So what you're drawing could still be accurate from a slightly different perspective, depending on where the photographer's standing. So if you got things that are slightly out of position, or you've like put this set of buildings too far in and it should be kind of out here, or you put them too far to the right and it should be in, just continue working on it, and um, just make it up as you go, in terms of you might have to crop the image a little bit, so that if you've done too much on this side, you can only do a little bit of this building, a bunch of buildings on the left hand side. So don't worry too much. I think with inks, that's just how it is. You kind of just whatever you put on there, you've got to accept it. I'd used the pencil a little bit as well from time to time, as that helps. That does help too, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. Wouldn't worry too much about it, B. Now, look at this. There's a section here of this house that comes down like that. And then this thing is separated out again into like thirds. 1, 2, 3. So that's a third here. There. Kind of make the lines a bit wobbly as well. It's kind of a style that I got. Even if I'm going straight, I just change it up and make it wobbly. That 1, 2, 3. So we got 3 and 3. 3 crosses. Kind of like a noughts and crosses. It's like playing noughts and crosses. Okay. And look, everything in here is just around with it. There could be anything really, but these are like little shades of the houses. There's this little balconies even in here. Don't make them all the same. So change up some of those things. There could be something here on the balcony, or whatever. You can even have a person here looking out of their balcony, or here. A couple of people here, maybe sitting on their balcony. Yeah, there we go. Scratch in a few more lines there. Scratch in a few more here, like that. And here, a few more like that. There. And the bottom parts are kind of a bit more complex, but we don't have to really follow that exactly too, but just some little bits and pieces like that in there. We could have areas of hatching as well. So for example, I could just decide to darken this here. You just decide to darken that section like that. And same for this bit. Okay, a little bit here, darken this section. Have a bit of a play around, and just see what you can get out of it. Now we're going to deal with this larger building coming in to here. And firstly, okay, we know this section's divided into two. We've got this building here with all of the trees and stuff growing out of it, and then we've got this other building here. So we're going to separate this into two half exactly. So here, third line, vertical line going downwards, and here we're going to join this up with this building here, just like that. Okay, and we can go ahead and get in something like this chimney. Oh, little chimney. Get in the top like that. Yeah. Bit more of that area like that. There, coming down like that. Okay. Another chimney or something here on top of that section. And the windows on this building are like a lot more unevenly spaced. There's all kinds of going on. So I'm gonna just put in my own sort of interpretation of this. I'm not even looking at the reference. Okay, just a couple of shutters on the left and right hand side of the building, like that. The window, sorry. Enjoy the process of it. Find this really quite relaxing to do. In fact, I find it more relaxing than watercolors. Watercolors is not for the faint-hearted. It's got to work under, not under your timelines, but under the timeline of the watercolors and when it's going to dry and when to go in. Using things like oils or, yeah, just doing a drawing like this, you can just take as long as you want to do it, which can be a good and bad thing. You know, each has its own advantage and disadvantage. Because I used to have the tendency to really fixate too much on little details, and it took me a long time to kind of let go and just accept that nothing's going to be perfect, and to just get on with it. Essentially, just get on with it and enjoy that process. Look at that top part of that. Look at that. And there, but here kind of comes across there. So look, I've made a mistake here in terms of this building in the background. It's a bit too tall, but I'm going to continue anyway. A little bits and pieces there. There's even a house in the background, a rooftop of something here in the distance, which I will just get to overlap in the background like that. And we've got this bit here, this part, the rooftop of that one. Okay, that. Straighten up that line a bit more like that. A couple of rooftops. Just put in a few of these lines to hatch in some detail on top. There's all this, I don't know what it is. It's an interesting looking house. Definitely an interesting looking house. There's a lot going on in here. These floors, and it's just 3 floors. 1, 2, 3. And we can be a little more loose with this stuff in the background. You don't have to worry too much about details because it's all further back, and so it's desirable actually to have it less detailed. One thing I really like is these hanging trees, hanging gardens, or hanging gardens of Annecy. It's this hotel or building. There we go. This out a bit. Okay, so not 100% perfect, but get the idea. Something there. I feel like working on this section a bit more. I've kind of exhausted myself with all these bits and pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and try my best to put in this boat here. I don't even know what kind of boats they have over in this area, but I'm thinking like a rowboat would be some kind of rowboat would be suited, and overlapping as well would be nice. The comment from V, she says, I love Ian Finelli, how he's creative with his pen and ink buildings, but I love your squiggly style, which is what I seem to be doing myself naturally. Ian's fantastic. He's a fantastic artist. Those of you who aren't aware of him, you can sort of Google his name. We both work with 𝗬𝗙𝗓 to do classes and stuff on their platform. He's been drawing for a lot longer than I have, just due to his age and experience. So he's developed a very specific style, and I think it's so important to immerse yourself with different artists and familiarize yourself with you know, how they approach drawing, how they approach painting. And initially you start by copying, which is fine. But then at some point in time, you want to develop something that's unique to you. I mean, you don't have to, but I think it's a good, you know, it's like writing. Like I don't want to write like someone else, or you know, I want to develop my own way of expressing myself. So by using techniques of other artists, you can sometimes combine them together and and develop something of your own, or a combination of everything. So it's a good suggestion, V. And I think the squiggly style goes a long way. Um, I think it's just a mental thing for me, so I don't fixate too much on details. Okay, there's more boats and things. Let's get another boat here. They're kind of overlapping. This is all I'm just experimenting. I didn't intend to put these boats here. In fact, I don't even think they look much like boats myself. Um, this could be like an oar or something in the water. Nikki's asked a question as well. How long did it take you to find your style? Um, yeah, good question. My Sometimes I look at my own work and I feel like I am still developing my style. It's changed. The stuff that I've done has changed a lot over the years, but I have preferred a more looser style, and I think it comes down to essentially it comes down to your preferences, two preferences as to whether you want to paint um, more literally, or you want to paint and draw more more expressively in terms of your own vision. So I get really bored when I'm just trying to copy a reference picture, and I like to change things up. And also, part of my personality, I do get frustrated when I'm trying to, because it's like I was saying before, it's always so hard if you're trying to just copy that reference picture and make it look exactly, because you're always going to fall short. So I thought, why put myself in that situation? I like something more sporadic, fits in with how I um, approach life as well. I mean, I do like to plan things out, but not to the point where I know exactly what's around the corner. It's like if you go on a trip, you want to leave a bit, well, I like to leave a bit of to the imagination. I might have a few free days here or something like that, or I may not have a hotel planned here. So it's the same thing. So it comes down to your personality in what feels comfortable for you. Could be colors. You might just love a certain type of you know, vibrant sort of painting and vibrant colors, or you might like more muted styles of things, more monotone things. So to find your style, you just have to take time in drawing and painting, and more importantly, do what you want to do. So I'm drawing and doing this in my way. But don't feel like you have to do it exactly like this. These are just some techniques that you might be able to use, but this is by no means an exhaustive list of how to do things. This is a small uh, chunk, small slice of how many different artists um, express themselves. So I hope that helps. Hope that helps. Sometimes I feel I'm just rambling a bit, but yes. Let's go ahead and do this building here on the left. Uh, and we're doing these little boats and things as well. Could be like an oar coming off the side like that. Yeah. Oar coming off there like that. I like these oars. I like these oars. I mean, I could even put another one here. I've made a small mistake here. I put these boats a little bit too high up. They should be slightly further down, but that's okay. Um, V. V says, realistic is nice, but why bother when you have a photograph of the scene? Leaving something you interpret on the paper is so much better, and people are drawn to the emotions it brings. Yeah, I think that's a good point, V. I really respect artists who can develop their technical abilities to paint and draw something photorealistically, but um, sometimes leaving things to the imagination is also good for the for the audience because then they can interpret it. There's a larger range of interpretations that they can form from a piece of artwork. It's almost like, I guess, abstract art is an extreme where you're looking at colors and things, and people just see all kinds of things, and they just think, oh, there's a rabbit in there, or it's nothing. It's just a splash of color. Um, Here, we're still painting, and sorry, we're still drawing and painting. Probably more literally than abstract. That's for sure, because we want to imply the scene, but we might want to tell a story and our own little story. We might place figures in different areas. I put some boats here. I might have a person running through, or I could change the mood of the scene. So it's all bright and happy here, but I could just make it all dark and like a rainy day or something like that. So it makes it certainly more exciting, personable, and at the end of the result, when you're finished, you're not thinking to yourself, "Oh, I didn't measure up to the reference," because that's not the yardstick that you should measure. I don't know if it's even a thing where you should try to measure up to that, but it's more sort of whether you've achieved the vision that you want in your scene. So hope that kind of hope that kind of helps. Okay. I'm gonna really try to scribble the rest of this in um, faster. I feel like I'm going a bit too slow here. So here's a bit of that building. Here on the left, roughly around the same height as this one. So that one, that's sort of top there. We've got a bit coming down here. Ooh, this is interesting. There's a what's this section here? Oh, there's actually three of these. What are they? Three of these chimney things. One here. One here. Go. One here. There we go. Yeah. Learning. But with that said, what I was saying before, learning some of the technical aspects of art puts you in a really good place to express yourself in a wider variety of ways. So some technical ability is important. I feel otherwise you're kind of going blind in terms of like perspective and that sort of thing. This is, I think I've done this building a bit wonky. And do you have artists as well that intentionally make things wonky? Like you're talking about Ian Fennelly, and he kind of distorts the reality of what he sees in ways. If you notice with how he draws, he'll emphasize like a boat to make it enormous, or a flag, or part of a person, or some windows. He'll make some giant, enormous windows on a little house kind of thing, and it just has an interesting sort of feel. Sometimes slightly unsettling but not in a bad way, just a more a way that makes you look twice. Um, and so you kind of develop your own little brand and own little way of showing and expressing what you see. Yeah, couple. This is a bit too loose for my liking here on that left side, but go ahead and see in as faster. There we go. Bit of this part of the roof of this area joins on there, and then we got this, which kind of comes up here, gets behind these little chimneys, which we drew earlier. Um, okay, and this kind of comes down right about here, and the wall for this other building starts about here. I've started it too early with that line, but look, and you make mistakes and you just go over it. Just go over it like that. Wall kind of joins into the building. It's not really a. See, it comes down here, this top section of the roof, and then it just joins on. A lot of darkness. some windows also here, little windows. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1. That 4 windows. Okay. Some of the frames of them as well. Another window here. That. There we go. The window. Here, there's a few windows on top. 1, 2, 3, 4. That. Over here, there's something sticking out of that wall there that I'm really just not sure what it is. It looks like a flowers or something. What's on there? Put another window there. And bottom part of the building like this. And a bit more. Sorry, the boats. That. There we got, sections of this building. You can see the bricks, little stones and things in here, which is just great again to practice getting in some smaller features of the wall. Let me just guiding line. Should put the stone. It's here on the wall that larger sort of shapes overlapping and tessellating with each other. This, I don't have to get in all of them, but something fun. Yeah. That. All right. Section actually gone. I've probably gone a bit too high with the windows, but what I'll do is I'll just put in another layer of windows below. Not really there, but something like that. Okay. Okay. Look, what else do we have left to draw in? Really, just some of these other buildings here in the background. There's this a tower-like building here, which just comes across like that down. That. Just a triangular shape up. 3. Oops. What have we got here? We've got another house. Comes about halfway up like that. Goes down here. That. Another starts off here, there, that comes here as well. You know what? This is one really big house. Side. The rest of the buildings are just so small, and that you don't need to bother. But to connect these up is important. Well, here there are some chimneys. Here's a couple of little chimneys. Chimneys. This house, of course, we should finish it off after that. Okay, so there we go. We got a little scene going on, and I think also we got some boats over on that side. Let's put another one maybe in here, and the oar coming off like this, and like that. I like this kind of overlapping section of boats, just to experiment around, see how it looks. I think it's quite nice. It's sort of breaks up this area a bit more, but I'll have more of this bush or tree kind of here. I don't want it to go all the way down the front. Okay, so we're pretty much done with the drawing. Really, the last last thing you might want to do is just shape up some areas a teeny bit more if you want. Who's this? Because it could be a person here standing in the front, that holding onto something here, briefcase or whatever, there, like that. Bit of hair, sort of facing us now. Bit more there, bit more on the shirt collar there. I do like to put a bit more detail for the figures. Foreground does help. Okay, a few bits and pieces here. But other than that, we are almost ready to go. You know, these little houses in the back here just need a bit of little lines to indicate windows. Okay, so I'm going to just erase a bunch of these lines now. And how are you guys all going? Let me know how your drawings are taken off. I'm going to do this bit real quick. Painting. Just like a two-step thing where we do all the light bits and then we'll do all the dark bits after. Alrighty. Okay. So step one, what we want to do is put in some areas of light in this whole scene. So to do that, we're going to be using this just a larger brush, and really quite quickly, a bit of yellow. Let's put in some yellow there. And yeah, we look at the comments. 𝗪𝗙𝗕𝗦𝗦𝗘𝗦 says, I know you're asking for ideas for some of the next classes, something like, what about Paris and the Eiffel Tower? Yeah, like I've always wanted to do a scene of that. I just wanted to, I'm trying to find a way to do it so that it doesn't look so cliche, too kitsch with the Eiffel Tower in the center. It'd have to be, but that's a good idea. Like if anyone has like ideas of reference photos, just post it up. Right. V. Awesome, V. Looks like you're doing well. So she says, almost done. Amazing for how it all came together. Fantastic. I'm great. I'm happy for you that it worked out. You pushed through. The hardest thing. Just continuing on, even when you're at that moment, you're feeling like it's just not working. Being able to operate and continue on. Bit more. Let's put some yellow. I'm using kind of lighter, warmer colors here on that left-hand side. Maybe a bit of this burnt sienna, and I've got some English red as well. We can drop in here, but a lot of this is just warmer colors. I think I'll start swapping over to a smaller round brush. Got a number 8 round brush. Drop in some of these lighter colors in here, like that. You know, this is Naples yellow. You kind of just vary it up to make some parts of it more saturated, some less saturated. Tends to help. Burnt sienna here. Okay. Even drop in a bit of darker color in here. Just things up. A bit of this bridge. I'm gonna get in a grey color for that bridge, like that. There. A lot of saturated colors here for that building, so we'll shift some of those across like this. Let's keep going. Got trees here, a bit of sap green I'm going to use for these trees. But one thing just to be careful of, the greens, you want to mix, you've got to be careful that you're not mixing green for like these buildings as well. So I think I'll pop in a bit of this green here, bits of that, and then on top of that, I'll add in a bit of blue, purple, and things like that for some of these flowers, and get in a bit of that first. So Nikki's saying, do a Paris and Egyptian pyramids collage. It's something different or any other mashup. Hmm. I actually downloaded a whole bunch of like ancient Egypt scenes with camels crossing the pyramids, like the pyramids in the background. I wanted to do that for one of the next ones actually because it's completely different. Like I've been looking up ancient cities, ancient sort of scenes. Um, yeah, even like areas of the Colosseum and stuff like that. But I was really interested in like the Egypt sort of theme, and even like doing drawings of the pyramids and the Sphinx and um yeah, just some of those statues of the pharaohs and stuff like that. I thought they looked really good, especially like having the warmth of everything contrasting with the with sort of a cooler sky. Um, those are great ideas. Um, and V saying, I'd love if you did a session using Google Earth to find a spot to paint. I've not been able to figure out how to get it zoomed in level to the street view. Okay, yeah, that could be something I do the next time. I'll write that down, and we can surely give that a go. It's not too difficult. There's just a button you gotta press, and it will swap you over so that you can have a look. It's the next best thing we can do, right? We can't travel. So I'm adding in a bit of titanium white. Oh, I've gone over that lamp accidentally. That's okay. Let me see if I can add a bit of yellow to that lamp. There we go. Bit of yellow in there, just to preserve that. A lot of titanium white in here. And a bit of really just warmer colors there. We can add a bit of lemon yellow if it's if we want to saturate that area a bit more with color in here. All these, everything in here, we just want to get in a warm color on the background. Okay, so something quick. And, I've left out some of the whites as well of the buildings to just give it a bit of contrast. Here, we'll just dilute this down a bit. That. To break it up, we can even get a bit of, let's have a look, got a little bit of blue. It's just a bit of manganese blue. Yeah. I'm also thinking what we're going to do with the water. How do we want to make the water? I think I'll add more blue, a little bit more blue in that water, because I want it to mirror the sky as well. So let's drop a bit of this manganese blue into the sky first, like that. Keeping it pretty wet there. It's almost like a coloring book. That just cut around everything. I'll pick up some more of it with a larger brush so I can do this faster. Just a quick wash of this in there. You've got to be careful, even parts of it starting to turn yellow. If you mix a little bit of yellow into this blue, that's just what happens. So, but if it does mix a bit kind of like this by itself, I just tend to leave it and continue on, do my thing. That quick little wash like this. You can even put in a bit more color in the sky, like a cloud or something. Cloud in the distance, like this. Okay. Let that sink in and do its own thing. The water, let's go ahead and get the water in like this. There. Around the trees and the boats. There. Quick little suggestion. Water. Okay. Around here, I'm just going to put some Naples yellow, just to get in a bit of color into the ground. Maybe a bit more yellow as well to brighten up, a bit more contrast in there. Sorry, a bit more saturation, I mean. There. I can also pick up a bit of purple, put in a bit here for the flowers and things like that as well. More like the blue. Mm. Okay, the boats, I'm going to get in some burnt sienna. Get in a bit of burnt sienna like that. Fantastic. Really just the rest of this is just whatever you want. The colors for these shades, I'm going to use like some red, that mix that in, get that to sort of move and shift downwards. This is a kind of pink, maybe like a pink color or red pink kind of color here. Got kind of darker neutral tint color down the bottom here. Just blend that into nicely like that. You go around the figures and things, you do notice at the bottom there is extra darkness underneath and behind these figures. So what I'm trying to do is get some of this in, help contrast more figures, and give this sort of impression of light, dark background. Right, it's looking okay. Time to just get in some colors for the figures. Let's go with a bit of blue for this person here, maybe for this person here too. Then a bit of brown or something for that one. A bit of purple. Just finding the color I want to add in for the figures. Just go pretty quickly and drop in a bit, even for the ones in the background and stuff there. You can play around and add in a few bits and pieces like that. Okay. And probably on the shirt of this sort of person here, I'm going to get that a bit darker. That slightly dark. Yeah. Remember, this will dry off faster as well. Darkness on the pants there, and perhaps some red base. Yeah. Here for some of these other figures. Okay. Okay. Okay, so really quick dry, and I'll show you how to put in all of the shadows and essentially finish this one off. Okay, here we go. All nice and dried. All nice and dried now. How are you all doing? Still got about nearly 50 people watching. So would love to hear how you're all doing. This next step, what we will do is get in all the dark colors, basically in one big wash. hopefully one big wash. So I've got myself two brushes, okay, that I'm essentially just going to use for this whole thing. I'm going to be using a number 6 round brush and a number 8 round brush, if I can find where it's at. Where's it gone? Number 8 round brush. Ah, here it is. Yeah. Number 8, number 6 round brush. So to kind of exaggerate, yeah, to sort of exaggerate the shadows a little bit, I'm just having a look, see what we can potentially do. Now, I might exaggerate some of the shadows on top of this roof here. It's kind of this is an interesting photo. It almost looks like it's combined. Like it's almost combined from two different. Maybe I'm just imagining it, but behind these chimneys, it looks like there's a shadow being cast behind, which doesn't make sense because all the shadows here are being cast on the right. So there's probably just a soft shadow underneath there, but I'm going to emphasize that. So the buildings here on the left are going to be a little bit darker than the buildings here on the right. So what's happening is that the light's coming in, hitting these buildings, and it's then reflecting back onto these buildings. But if we don't get in enough contrast in the painting, it's going to look a bit flat. Now in a reference photo like this, where it's so complex, so much complexity, and the camera is able to capture such slight variations in tone, photograph will look good just as it is. But if we try to copy it just like that in watercolors, it can look a bit washed out. So I tend to try and emphasize and exaggerate some of the shadows. So things like the shadows coming off these figures to the right, maybe some of the shadows of this building. So I'm going to try, and I'm sure it will work out. So I'm going to look at the chats. A quick look at the chats. Yeah, V, still finishing my wash up. I'll get it done though. Just not as quick as you are. Yeah. Just remember you're putting in, all you're doing is just putting in a basic wash for all these background colors here, mainly the light that you. Sandra, Sandra is asking, I would never think of using red for the faces. However, it looks fine in your paintings. Their reasoning behind the red. So with the red, if you use a really light wash of the red, it just sort of dries as a pinkish kind of color. I also use the red mixed with some yellow ochre, or a bit of burnt sienna or some burnt umber. And a light wash of that, you can apply a range of different skin tones. When you put the red on, it just looks too much. But yeah, when it does dry, it turns a kind of pinkish color if you keep it really really light. But yeah, mix it around with some of your browns and some of your other colors as well. You can get a large range of skin tones. You can also get in a bit of blue, put in a bit of blue in there as well. So I'm going to go straight into this. Let me see if there's any. Let me quickly see if there's a question. Meredith was saying I stopped at 1. It was enough for a first go. Great. And you know, that's something I think for the next sessions I'm going to try to just do one per aim to just do one painting per session, because I know for a lot of you it's just a bit much, and even for myself I feel it would be better if I just focused on one and spend a bit more time, so then I can also answer some of your questions a bit better as well. But I know some of you do watch afterwards and you find these ones useful, so let me know. I always love to hear feedback in terms of what you'd like to see, what works for you. Because when I do these lives, I just want to make sure that you're getting, getting the most out of them as you can. So I'm going to mix in a bit of this color here. It's just a darker kind of color, a bit of purple and a bit of burnt sienna, maybe mixed together. I'm going to drop that in. actually swap to a smaller brush, maybe one of these here, number 6 brush. Here we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and drop in some color here on this building, a bit of darkness. That, yeah. Yeah. One thing I want to do is just leave that part of the building as well. Chimney. I'm going to get in some little shadows like that. Here. This is on the shadows. Really are. There. This part of the building may be darker here on this side. That. Okay. There. Move this down. And more, maybe put some purple here on the base as well. You can dry brush a bit too. I find that looks nice. Leave some areas of the windows like that there. And, you know, we're going to imply some more light, maybe hitting that side of the building. Could be a building there. A bit here, just a bit of darkness here, here, on the rooftop here as well. Like that, there. Okay, bringing this bridge all the way across. That. Yeah. Let's have a look. What else? What other areas of darkness do we have? Well, we've got some areas of the building. So there's a bit here on the side. So some darkness in there on the floors, kind of indicating floors of the building, like that. There. Only a bit of darkness under there, not much. What else have we got? We've got this part of the bridge, which is kind of dark under this section as well. Yeah. And it's the figures, which I will try and get in a better indication of their legs first of all. Then we'll join that on with the shadow on the ground. So something like disappearing. Some of these chairs and things as well, they will have shadows. That, yeah. You know, this bicycle got a bit of darkness. Some of these, this bike is casting a slight shadow. Same with the bushes and things like that. As long as those shadows are all going in the same direction, you're fine. That. Okay. Darker shadows really help. I find they really help to bring out the light parts of the scene. And some of the figures here in the background as well, you might think they just look a bit too weak, need a bit more strength. So go in there and just add in a bit of color, darken them off. The shadows underneath them are quite difficult to put in. So another thing you can do is just put a little highlight around the right side of them. Okay. Another thing is like underneath some of these bits of tops, you know, there's darkness in the sections. So I can emphasize that more by doing this sort of thing. Yeah, we did that. We kind of did that before already, but this is just a second kind of layer. I'm not doing it in all spots, just in some. There, okay. Bit of darkness there. Even here in the background, underneath these parts of the rooftops and things, bit of darkness under there. We want to keep that beautiful colors on the shade cloths. Then, of course, we can emphasize little shadows in the windows and things like that. Yeah, there's another one here. There's a shadow underneath there. What have we got in here? There's areas of darkness, so we can just put in some color. A bit of areas of darkness like that in here, even where those figures are standing. There, bit in here, a bit more in here, a bit more here. Oop, that's a bit excited there. Be excited there, everyone. A bit more here, a bit more here. Okay. The wash of the paint I'm using, it's about 25% water, 75% paint. 75% water, 25% paint, because it's a very dark sort of color And so with dark colors, you don't need as much. You just don't need as much to do these shadows. So these windows really don't have a shadow in the scene. I'm going to put them in anyway. And also a bit of this roughness on the building. Just a bit of, this is just some dry brush. Then give that building a bit of texture. And we can even do that here too. Just a bit of texture on this building. That I kind of missed out this section here. I'm just going to put in a bit of color so that it's not just all white section, something like that. Yeah. Let me see. Let me put in. I'm going to put in a bit of color for the arm here as well. Right. So that's already starting to come together and kind of look like something. It's just picking out, looking at what areas of the buildings are light and dark. And under here, there's some darkness underneath that rooftop that you can put in. Here, that's kind of darker. In fact, even this side of the roof is pretty dark, so you can put that in as well here. So you got to remember that combination of all the tones, a good combination of all the tones is what brings a painting together, make it look more interesting. When we just had the light on there to begin with, notice there's not really, it just feels a bit weak. There's not really much to indicate. As soon as you pop on those shadows, that's when the light pops out. What have we got here? And again, this sort of building's a bit weird. Going on in there, bit of color in there. What I'll darken a bit the pants of these figures. Darkness here. A bit on their head as well. Bit of color for the hair. Same for this. Oh, that's cap. Do like that. Another thing we got to do, the boats just got to be also a darker. So there we go, bit of color there for the boats, like that. And finally, some shadows for the water, little ripples, reflections. So let's go ahead and do this one. Yeah, the thing underneath the bridge like that. Then I'm going to try to do these sort of sharper shadows, reflections away, just on the top of the water like that. Yep. Carry some of these down, and you know, we got things like this, these oars as well, which will have a reflection. I'm just trying to imagine the reflection kind of back, maybe. More darkness underneath. It's just a bit of this. It's the ground. Some of these buildings to be a bit more darkness in some areas at the bottom. There we go. A few more ripples and things here that just work their way into the foreground. Right. Yeah. Excellent. I do like this these trees and things here. They kind of preserved a bit of that light left side of them. Just adding a little bit more green to the right hand side. Indicate a bit more there. Maybe put in a few birds up the top. That's quick little, say quick, but definitely it's a little sketch. It's a little sketch, and I hope the techniques that I've shown you were helpful, and more importantly, I hope you had fun doing this. And never done this scene before, but you know, the steps that I do in all of these are pretty similar. So you use that, you know, some of the tips that I've mentioned, you're going to be able to pretty much draw and paint any of these sort of scenes. And this is a very difficult one, guys. This is not something you normally pick up straight away as a beginner. So you managed to finish this one off, or even give it a try, very well. So just have a look at the chats and see what we've got. V's saying, I like tonight. The first was a warm up and helped me to loosen up for this one. Last week it was too much for me to get the second one done, having two very busy paintings in one setting. I suggest paint the first session well. Paint can't read. I suggest paint part of session. Explain. We paint mixed colors, tonal values. Okay. Onto the paint. Okay, I see what you're saying. So sort of talk about more of the techniques I'm going to be using in terms of in relation to the painting. So thanks for that, V. I'll keep that in mind for next, so you guys can be a little bit more prepared. Each night can be focused on anything you pick up from a particular paintbrush stroke or using certain hues or any type of things. Okay, also like more topic. Cool. Thanks, V. I'll copy that and write that down for paste that down for the next time so I remember. Few chats here on Facebook. Meredith says, please keep doing two. I'm still watching and learning. Yeah, I'll try my best. Meredith, like at the moment, because in Melbourne we tend to have a little bit more time on our hands these days, lockdown and stuff like that. I'm at home a lot, and so I've got a bit more time to. Why can I do my best to make sure I've got a whole bunch of scenes up there that you guys can play around and practice with. Ellen's saying, I agree that one is enough, and perhaps go slower, or do a portion and then stop and let us catch up. Okay, yeah, that's a great suggestion, Ellen. And same with you guys. Like if if I'm going too quick, feel free to just stop me and say, hey, what are you doing? And get it? Or you're going too quick, so that I can go over and explain things, because I know, yeah, sometimes it's just a very automatic thing that I'll go through things quickly, but I do need to keep in mind what you guys are piece as well for you guys. Thanks for that. Bronwyn says, I enjoy the current format, even though I manage only to do one painting as I'm slow. I also enjoy watching the second one to try later. I'm learning a lot. Okay, cool. Um, it looks like a lot of people are enjoying the second ones. I think another suggestion that someone had was, maybe I could have a main scene that we do, and then if anyone is still around to watch the second one, and if I feel like I've got enough energy, still got enough left in the tank to do a second one, I'll just run through it anyway. So that, because I know some of you will watch it afterwards. So I don't see any harm in adding a second one. It's just that I think maybe for the first scene, you'll be more, the first one I paint could be more based on what everyone wants to see, where the majority of you guys are the subject, the majority of you guys would like to see. And the second one could be like a second most popular one, or just one that I decide. So thank you, really appreciate it. Lucia says, love the second one. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lucia, for joining. Appreciate you being here again. Anna says, enjoyed your class. Thanks everyone for coming along. If you're interested in, I have a website. It's still under kind of working on it, Watercolour Mentor. Also working on one maybe just with my name in it. But yeah, check it out. I've got links to courses, and also there's a lot of articles, free watercolor articles that I put in there that are linked to videos, or just bits of writing that I've done. I'm trying to blog and write a little bit more. So have a look at those. I've got a whole, yeah, just classes and platforms um, as well. You know, if you enjoyed it, just would appreciate if you shared it around on Facebook, um, to your friends and things like that as well. I think that if you think that they would enjoy it too, good to see that like some of you guys are coming together as a bit of a group and like there's a bunch of friends just coming along and learning together. And it's the great thing is just being able to form this sort of community that we have, being able to support each other um, through these sort of challenging times, and taking our mind off things, being kind and supportive of each other. So I always so inspired when I just see the paintings that you've done and the drawings and post them on in the group and the page. Really makes me happy, and just also to see some of you guys making friends with each other and interacting, because it's I think people can be it's definitely can be quite a lonely time days when you can't go out, can't do as much as you can normally. And to be able to just make some friends, maybe even if they're based on another side of the world, almost like pen pals kind of thing, really good. But like I said before, just keep in mind your safety, guys. With if you get any weird people messaging you, asking you to, I don't know, buy stuff or click on links, this and that, it's probably a scam. So just be careful with like if the links aren't coming from me, or if you just get random messages from people and um, trying to hit on you and stuff like that. Just be wary of that. But the community that we have here, I spend a lot of time moderating the community and making sure those types of people are not in the group as soon as I find them. So it's a very safe environment. It's just a general thing I like to let you guys know, because I don't want I don't want you anything like that happen. So thanks so much. Really appreciate. Let me have a look. There's a few more questions here. CW, thank you. First time following the live tutorial, had a lot of fun. Actually enjoyed the pace. Makes me not overwork a section too much. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I sometimes left to my own devices as well. Sit there for hours and is also fine as well. Sui says, thanks, Darren, for such a challenging lesson. Thanks, Sui, for coming along. And like one thing I'm really happy with about you is that you always will give something. You always like challenge yourself and do something. I think with the last few, you had you were saying to me you were struggling with one of them and here and there, but you still push through and you're still trying to learn. So I think that acceptance of knowing, hey, maybe it's not gonna work out exactly the way I want it, but I'm gonna give it a crack. I think that's a great attitude to have. Thank you for coming along. Don says that was great. I was able to get through both of them and I loved it. Awesome. Thanks, Don. And it's such a long stream, and it really boggles my mind to think that, like, I never thought initially when I was doing these that people would watch for longer than maybe even 15 minutes to half an hour. Um, but I'm trying to be, I've been a lot more conscious in how I explain things, and especially with your questions and everything like that. So I'm happy to hear that, my talking, and because initially I just thought I was babbling. I thought I'm happy that you guys are getting some value out of it. So thank you. And V says, thanks for another informative and wonderful night of painting. I have a question about the $100 Patreon, as I don't have Facebook. Can you email me and I ask you a few questions? I have, yeah, sure. You can, I think of how I'm going to get. how am I going to message you? Probably I can message you on Patreon V, or you can send me a message on Patreon, and I can answer what you questions that you have on there. Shanolan says looks awesome. Thanks, Shanolan. And how did you go? How did you go with yours? Did you end up finishing it? I'm having a look now on Facebook, the Facebook chats. So have a look. There's quite a lot. There's quite a lot of quite a few chats. I'm not quite sure where I'm up to, but I think we're up to about Anna. So Anna DuPont enjoyed your class. Thanks. Thank you, Anna. Janine. Janine Martin. Thank you so much. I've been able to keep up with doing both paintings. I love your style. Thank you, Janine. And I'm glad the pace was reasonable for you to keep up. One thing I'll do afterwards, guys, when I'm off the camera, is I'm actually going to darken some of these areas a bit more to draw out further contrast. So especially maybe in some of these figures here in the front, I'm going to darken them a bit, and also some of these background areas, darken a little bit there. Maybe add in a little more darkness in the bridge and in the boat to further make it kind of pop out. But I think this is okay for what it is. Just something I do tidy up afterwards. Have a look. Ellen Whitney, excellent class. I look forward to Fridays. That's great. I'm happy that that it provides you something enjoyable to do on a Friday, and I'll continue to keep doing these as much as I can. I feel a lot more comfortable doing them now these days, and I'm also I'm a bit lazy in terms of video editing and recording stuff off camera and then editing it and then uploading it. It just takes a lot of time to do that. And I find with these lives, ironically, they can be a little, they put you on the spot a lot more. So, there's a lot of unplanned stuff that happens. But it allows you guys to interact with me at the same time and ask questions. Um, even for you to just get to know more of the painting community that we have here, so that you don't have to just rely on me. You can go to other people in the group. Someone else might know a bit about this and a bit about that, and you can share your paintings with each other and learn as well. Because I'm certain in almost a few years' time, if you keep painting and keep doing this a few times a week, you're going to get to a point where you draw and paint pretty much any scene confidently. So it's all to do with getting those basic techniques, understanding those basic watercolor techniques, how they're going to work out, drawing techniques. Once you've got those down, the rest, everything that you do tends to work out okay. So going through the chats again, everyone. Josephine, thank you so much for sharing a talent alert. Thank you, Josephine. Wendy. Wendy says, thanks for a very really enjoyable class. I'm okay with the drawing and can do that fast, but the painting part is really fast and I'm always trying to catch up. Recruited my sister and we have fun comparing our finished paintings afterward. That's really nice, Wendy, and I'm good. It's good to hear that it's kind of brought you and your sister together, and that you can have a little yeah, like just a painting activity together. So really happy to hear that. Meredith, this is a good point about the pace too. If you went any slower, I would feel too much. Yeah, I'll try to keep everything in mind and kind of take things at an average pace for everyone. It's very hard, even like with time differences. There's some people can't make it. There's also a way on I'm not sure if there's on Facebook, but there is a way on YouTube to decrease the pace of things. If you're watching along and you want it to go slower, you can actually reduce the pace to 75% less or increase it as well, but it will never increase to the point of which I can future. So if you also are on Facebook, apparently there's a subscribe button on the live. On the live video, there's a subscribe button. I can't see it myself, but Facebook sent me some email the other day, and they said that tell your viewers they can subscribe by clicking follow or something in the video. I don't know if you can do that, but that will make it alert you when I go live, because I do live sessions on Wednesdays as well, and I know some of you, or most of you, are probably asleep. But if you are awake, then you get notified and see what I'm painting. I normally on the Wednesdays I'll try things that are just like subjects that I want to paint personally, and they're just different ones that I haven't tried. So last Wednesday I painted like a Japanese pagoda kind of a temple scene, and I also painted what else did I paint? I painted a Florence scene because of all the rooftops. I've never tried that scene before, and I had fun doing it. Um, let's have a look. Diana, I've always wanted to do pen and ink drawing. Drawing is my strength, and watercolor. Thank you. I've learned so much. Love your stuff. Thank you, Diana. Great combination of both. You learn really quickly because you learn to draw. And especially if you're not using pencil beforehand, you're just drawing with the pen, you're really forcing your yourself to pick up those drawing skills. If you notice, if you draw with a pencil, you're almost a little bit more relaxed. You're not as, I would say at times cannot be as focused for myself, because I'm like, okay, well, if I stuff this up, I can just erase it. But with the pen, you're really thinking, oh, you're really thinking twice before going in, and you're doing things in your head. A technique I do is like I'll hold the pen above the paper and just pretend I'm drawing it to visualize in my head before I get that line in. So it's like you practice beforehand, and then you do the final stroke, and it's likely going to go in the right direction. Um, Yves, thank you, Yves, for coming along. I love your drawings, Yves. Every time I see them, in case some of you don't know Yves from the group, she has she has a beautiful drawing style, detail that you made. Just thank you for coming along, Marianne. Many thanks. Still finishing. Thanks, Marianne. Amy, thank you. First one was a warm up. Second one went better for me. It's great. I think this sort of format works well for me as well, and I don't have to. This one is more of a slightly, I mean, it's still loose, but I'd say it's more detailed than the first one. Let me get the first one out. The first one's essentially just watercolors, right? So you've got a bit more looseness in there to work with. Shelley, thoroughly enjoyed today's class. I'll post the two paintings finished. Awesome. Thanks, Shelley, for joining. And definitely pop them up come up in the Facebook as well. Look, Meredith, thanks for today, Darren. 𝗪𝗘𝗙𝗢𝗡 invited me to the group, and we paint along together too. Awesome. Nerida's been watching along for a while. I think Nerida's from New South Wales, I think. Yeah, hopefully got that right. What about you, Meredith? Are you from New South Wales at the moment? And how are you doing if you are? If you're a bit thick over there, lockdown like us. But it's good to see you making use of this time to learn something, learn a new skill, and enjoy yourselves. Good to see you. Sandy Russell says, thank you so much for so generously sharing your talents, your enormous talent with us. I learn a lot from these tutorials. Even though I may not finish both in the same night, I watch the second and learn and apply the techniques to finish paintings. So I love having two paintings in one night. I know whatever you decide will be wonderful. Thank you, Darren. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Sandy. And great that you end up watching the second one as well. That's some commitment. these lives go for a really long time. Let's have a look at YouTube. So, oh, there's Sui. So Sui says, "Thank you, Darren. Such a challenging lesson." Don says that was great. I was able to get through both of them and loved it. B says, "Thank you for another informative and wonderful." Oh, sorry, I've read over all these sections before. I'm just going to have a look down a little bit further. Shanolan says, thank you, Darren. This class was a little bit more advanced, but I love a challenge. No, I'll finish mine up tomorrow and then post it. Fantastic. Good to see you giving it a try. Also, very interested to hear what things you want me to cover next time. So just if you have any suggestions, post them up. I will get back to you. Hopefully, feature it in the next session. I think the Egypt one is a good one to try, guys. Like on Wednesday, I'll if I don't have anything on, I'll go do another live on Wednesday and try that a scene of Egypt, maybe a few sketches of Egypt. Yeah, something completely different. So kind of like traveling around the world. Have a look. Um, Thank you, Doris. Thanks for coming along. Doris from Hong Kong. Great. Have a look. Oh, Meredith from Central Coast, New South Wales. Meredith says, "I've just finished the drawing. Finished drawing the Annecy one. Mary and I compare notes after we finish. Awesome. Sounds like some good teamwork. You guys are good mates." Um, Mary Remorca. Sorry, hard to see because I've got the computer a bit far away from me. Can I see the other painting again? Thank you for your mentoring. Um, the other painting. Ah, yeah, sure. This one, you mean? Just shift that over. I can't get them both in the same. Get them both in the same screen. Let me just take out. Maybe just take out the. There we go. Oops. There we go. Both now. Kind of. Marianne Levy says, "What time would the Wednesday one be? Melbourne time." So normally I do them about 7 p.m. Melbourne time. Maybe a bit earlier. We'll see. I try to get in a bit of dinner beforehand. Last time I learnt my lesson, I started off like around 7 and I didn't have anything to eat. And I ended up finishing at 10:30 or something like that. Kind of got a bit carried away. So, um, yeah, yeah. So if you kind of if you're on YouTube, you can put the notification bell on kind of thing, and I think you can notify in the particular videos. So if you go on YouTube, it shows you. I schedule these things in advance, so you can go into the event on there and just I think there's some notification icon you can click on so that it tells you when I go live, and it'll actually remind you as well. Hope that helps. Hope that helps, Marianne. Great. And Chiok, I think the size of the paper matters. So Chiok says, "If you can use A4 paper for the second scene, it will look fantastic. I'm contemplating of switching to A4 size for pen and wash exercise." What size paper do you use, Chiok? Do you use like a smaller bit of paper? This is almost A4 size. It's a little bit smaller than A4 size because I've torn this. This is a sketchbook that I made myself. Got a bit of help actually, but it's just a look at that. It's just a sheet of watercolor paper that I've torn down into little sheets, and basically created my own sketchbook, and they're about A4 size. So yeah, probably the largest I've worked with pen and wash is A4. Um, A3 would be good as well. It's just I feel like you got to put in a lot of detail in them. And Chiok says, yeah, use a smaller size of paper. Yep. And there's some people who can draw like really small, and that's always something I've admired because I don't know whether I'm just clumsy or I need more practice, but when I try to draw things like pretty small, it just doesn't end up looking like much. So I probably maybe got to just focus more. But I like having a bit more freedom of having a larger sheet of paper. In fact, A3 or close to A3 like that one is my preferred size to paint on, especially for watercolor paintings, because the washes that you can get in are just more. I just find you get nicer, more fluid washes. Maybe because of the size of my brushes as well. So, uh, and yeah, I think you guys are asking about A4 paper size. I think it's something like 8 by 11 inches. Don't quote me by that though. If you just search it around in Google or whatever and find out, A4 to American size, I think it's something like that. It's very similar to 1/8 sheet of watercolor paper. Probably doesn't help. Um, okay, awesome. I think that's all the chats done. Um, So yeah, if you like the video and you're still around, just like I said this a few times, but if you could please like it and share that video around, I'd really appreciate that. I'm a I'm a part-time artist and teacher here in Melbourne, Victoria. I hope one day that I can do this on like a more full-time basis. I mean, this is something I love doing and sharing what I know in terms of painting and drawing. Um, and your support means so much, really means so much to me because it gives me inspiration to continue on. It um, gives me motivation to improve myself and learn and try new things so that I can share that all with you guys. Um, so if you get the chance to do it, I'd really appreciate it. But I really appreciate your time. You guys spending all your time here. This might be your whole morning or your whole night. I don't even know how long we've been streaming for. Probably 4 hours. We've broken another record. So um, yeah, if there's any way that you can think, especially in the future, or anything else I can include, always happy to take suggestions. I'll write down the suggestions that were mentioned a little bit before. Well, um, V says you're very good at teaching. It's really I can't thank you enough. Thank you, V, and appreciate it. Even if you got things that you might notice, like that I could do better. I think that those comments were very um, insightful, V, like in terms of maybe going through some of the techniques and how they apply to the painting. I think that's something I like to hear if that's going to help you guys learn a bit better. I've I've got a normal day job just like a lot of you guys out there. It's pretty boring, so I'm not going to go into the details of that. But basically it's dealing with a lot of numbers. Um, so this is a great kind of escape, and it's great fun for me. I love doing this, and the one of the most rewarding things, like just being able to teach people and impart some kind of knowledge, and more importantly, motivate people to continue on learning art, because I there's so many people I know that have tried to pick up art in many ways and forms, and they think they're no good, and then they just stop. But what they don't realize is that it takes time. Not everyone's born with talent. In fact, very few people are born with um, legitimate, I don't know what you call it, like natural talent. I think a lot of it is developed through practice and observation. um I can even pull out a painting I did in 2014 some stage. I've got it in my sketchbooks, and you'll see that it's just very, very basic. So 6, 7 years, even a few years, you can learn a lot. Alrighty, I'm gonna finish this one off and have myself some lunch. But thank you all for coming along, and I hope to see you next time.